Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Write Once, Read Many. I'm your host, Vic or Victoria. And
You're only not Victoria because of the character Victoria Dallin.
I know. Well, usually when I introduce myself, because I know like everybody calls me Vic, but when I introduce myself, I always say Victoria, and so it felt really awkward
Oh, it's
saying
okay.
Vic. But I'm joined
Victoria,
today by our guest, our
esteemed guest.
coveted guest, esteemed guest, William. So, and also our bestie Oliver that you can see on screen right now. This one is just his like sad little glower with the bowl cut.
Yeah. I tried to get. I told you this before I started any of them, but I really wanted them to look like run down or whatever.
Yeah, heroin or something.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And yeah, this was a similar one to both of these ones today were similar. I did a grid method to start. I tried to erase the grid earlier on this time, so that it would be less evident in the final product, but...
Yeah, I definitely can't tell. That's always the hardest part, because, like, I love doing a grid, but it does, like, create a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Hi, Vale. Vale
Hey,
says,
Vale.
I made it today. I didn't doze off and join with a minute left, then ask you to start over wittily.
It's true.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought it was faster this week even than last time, because what I did is I picked out both of my images for my two, like, arts, and then I made both grids, and then I made both grids on the paper, and then I could just sort of flow from one end to the next without having to take a big gap to start over and do another grid, because the grid is annoying to create.
Yeah. The grid.
And this week, the audience participation questions that were just created were for 17.3. Would you have left the house, as Kraus did, to seek resources and medical attention? What would your game plan be? And then if you would read the next question. Ooh.
Oh my gosh, I have to pull it up.
No, I just put it in front of you in the thing.
Oh, okay. 17.4. How would you feel about the heroes in Krause's position and as, a non-cape meeting them for the first time? So I just want to know what everybody else would have done, because I think #Krause did nothing wrong.
There's a lot of these decisions throughout the book where it's kind of hard to say. Like, that's part of why I think I pull that as a question. Like, would you do, like, X that Taylor did? Because, like, a lot of people, can be down on Taylor all day, but it's like, tell me what you would have done.
Yeah, what would you have done? And, like, I guess sometimes it's like, with Taylor, it's like, well, I wouldn't have been in this situation. But with, like, this traveler story, so far, it's like most... if not all of the choices have been unavoidable.
Yeah, after the point at which they get
opinion.
swooped. Hey, Greg.
Yeah. Hey, Greg. Vale says, in most cases of what would you have done in Worm, my honest answer is run away. Yeah, true.
I feel like one of the problems for me running away from these situations is I'm a psycho like Taylor or Victoria or Francis Krause.
Yeah, I just personally, like, to me, it's like, I simply would not have been in this situation, Taylor, because I, as much as I relate to Taylor, I think I relate the least to, like, the individual choices she makes.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I relate more on a brave length level.
There's a lot of because the characters are so, like, complex, you can feel really in line with a character, even if you literally, like, wouldn't do what they do, just, like, being able to line up with their mindset or with their, like, negative or positive emotions. Like, there's a lot to latch onto, so it's very easy I think, to get in and be
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm just like.
for sure. I think Wildbow does a great job at like leaving room for relatability in whatever aspect. Um, Vale said, I would go home, read a bit, play some games, listen to a baby metal concert, and take a nap. That is post runaway.
Man,
Yeah.
in Brockton Bay in 2011, after the Leviathan attack, there's no internet. You can't even watch that baby metal concert.
Dude, you can't even watch the baby metal concert. This sucks. You
You
could
had to
play some
download it to
games,
your
but
hard drive first.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Gotta have that shit on
Well,
lock.
I would simply have left town. So I would have been the little shithead Greg who lives on the outskirts of the city that like didn't get hit with the attack.
Yeah, story Greg. He moves like
Yeah.
to his grandma's house on Captain's Hill or something.
Yeah, I would have done that. And then I would have still been able to brag about like being in it. When all the horrible things happened, but I would have
What do
been
you mean you don't all have
nice and
rich
cozy and
grandmas who live
safe.
on Captain's Hill?
I just like don't agree that that means that he like because like obviously he's like not in the throes in the same way that people in the town are, but it's not like nothing happened and that he hasn't like also been at risk. Like you think that the Slaughterhouse Nine are like, well, we're not going to touch the rich part of town.
They weirdly did enact that, whether or not they like
They like
thought it
also
through.
did that. I think that part of it is that like they know that if they're like fucking with the mayor directly, that like more reinforcements have been sent and stuff. That's probably the go. They're like taking advantage of classism and such.
Yeah.
Speaking of classism, do we want to talk about themes? I am really struggling with themes for
Yes.
these chapters. I feel like usually they're not too hard to pull out. The theme
I'm
of
so
this
bad at pulling
chapter
out.
is the theme of this chapter um is I don't even know how to say remembering things that make you a worse person. which is which as we can kind of notice in this chapter, but it isn't said explicitly, kind of what's happening. We've got Cody going off and being like, I remember this time Kraus screwed me over. I remember this other time Kraus screwed me over. And Kraus going off and being like, I remember this thing that made me want to protect Noelle. And I remember this thing that made me want to protect Noelle. And then Oliver just crying in the corner. Something's obviously going on there. Which is like it's like this is like always a theme in Worm, but like this is obviously more explicit. Like this is it's like almost like weird repeated trigger event situations.
Yeah, it kind of is like a weird, like it's like an echo of a trigger event, kind of like they
Yeah.
all have these like weird things. Like none of them are equipped with the Corona Palencia or whatever, but
Mm-hmm. But they're like being primed. I feel like they're being primed for their mental state to be in not only like the worst that it can be, but the worst that it can be like for each individual to create the most chaos, which is what the powers are doing naturally, but we're seeing it here like being done in an artificial way. And as we know, like being in a good mental state when you take the power vials is like an important aspect, because we saw that with Battery. They had to do um, like a lot of mental health tests and that kind of stuff to make sure like she was in a good space.
would you say they ran a battery
Because
of tests?
yeah, something like that. Because so I don't know, it's like a very interesting, like the Seamerg is contriving a natural trigger event for them, which is interesting. And I wonder like what kind of like would their powers have turned out differently because of um because of them all being triggered when they boilies drink the vials, but I mean, I think we all knew that was coming. um, or maybe the fact that they're in like a bad mental state when they drink the vials puts them in a situation where like the power is more like connected to that bad mental state in like a more natural trigger event kind of way.
That might
So
be
I
true.
wonder.
I think that like for them, uh, like Noelle is in the worst mental state when she takes the thing by like a lot,
Mhm,
and like there's other obvious factors that lead to her getting like broken power basically, and then
mhm.
like each of the others is in like a weird mental state, but like Kraus is in like I don't know. He's very when he takes the his vial, he's very like it's a positive, like determined, like he doesn't seem to be in like a bad way at all.
Well, I feel like when it's not even like Kraus being in a bad way, but like when Kraus is in this zone, he is like negatively affecting the people around him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with
So
you.
it's like, it's rather than him being in like a bad personal state, it's more like a state that's bad.
Oh, you're no longer making noise, so I think your microphone might be out. But to address Greg's comment in the chat from earlier, which was about the Slaughterhouse Nine, I think it's because the rich part of town was boring. Boom. Roasted as boring. Um, just gonna quickly send Victoria a message.
For chaos and
There we go. I hear for a moment.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi, like, I don't think it went down, but it like just dropped in service or something.
Um, that's odd. Let's see here.
Well, that's all I have for themes. I feel like no real themes. Kraus protecting Noelle. Um,
Greg, the C merg is
everybody in
messing
a
with
really
Victoria's
bad
internet.
mood. Listen, yeah, she didn't want to. It's because I came too close to the truth
Mm-hmm,
with
mm-hmm.
what her fucking plan was, dude.
Exactly. She knew that you knew.
You know.
Um. So themes. I think that's probably good for themes. These two
Yeah.
chapters are.
We're like getting a lot of setup in right now.
Yeah. There's also like weird, like the weird state they're all in leads to the theme of like Kraus always attacks. You know what I mean?
It's so funny because it's like when he's not attacking, like when he's just like completely ignoring Cody, it's like it's like it's like somehow way worse. And like it's like worse for Cody. Like Cody's like getting angrier and angrier because of it. But it's also like, what do you want? Like you want him to fight you right now? I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird.
Not ever. Not really sure what Cody's looking for. We can get into the chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kraus calls through the fence to the soldiers for help, but they promptly aim their guns at him in response. Classic. So as they back away, Cyan and the Seamerg are like throwing blows and tussling and such, and
Yeah,
Cyan
they're
blasts.
tussling.
Yeah, Cyan's like trying to blast her with a beam, but she dodges it, and so he's like hitting a bunch of buildings, and the crew is like getting rained on with just chunks of buildings and stuff. So they have to take cover. I wonder how many people Cyan has accidentally killed.
Oh, probably loads. You know what? I just always think Sam's such a big golden idiot. If he was smart, he'd
He's just
fly up
such a
and grab
himbo,
her.
dude.
Yeah, he's so dumb. He'd grab her so that she can't escape and then fry her at point blank range.
Um, yeah, but he doesn't
He's just
he doesn't
dumb.
kill people. I know. Um, so Kraus takes tabs on his friends and he's notes that Cody looks pretty angry. And Jess seems like the most freaked out and scared out of all of them. And
Mhm.
he's like, that makes sense. Because she like has the most context out of everybody.
She's the
Which
only
like
person who
he's like,
realizes at this point that they're in the wrong
yeah,
dimension or
and
whatever.
it seems like Kraus is the only person who's like keying in on Jess. He's like Jess is the most freaked out because of something that she knows immediately, and like nobody else seems to be like suspicious of that. Um, I don't know.
It's a bit odd.
Is it correct?
They're very
Yeah. So
distracted.
they're very distracted, but it's like crazy that um like Jess and Kraus I feel like are definitely the most lucid. Like they're the ones who aren't like getting pulled into their own shit. And like I know Luke is injured, but I can't remember exactly what is going on emotionally for Luke. I think he's just mostly injured.
Yeah,
um
I could recheck in a minute, and I probably will go to check. But it's like I think that he's just being distracted so that he doesn't throw a wrench in any of the things that are happening.
yeah, that could definitely be it. Um so he checks on Luke's leg, he's like, "Don't worry, man, it's not that painful." And to me, I'm like, "Oh God, it's getting worse." Um, and Luke says that they just need to focus on getting Noelle inside. Kraus is hopeful that if they stick near the soldiers, that the soldiers might come and help if needed. And Jess is like, "I doubt it." And
Yeah.
he's like, what does Jess know?" Um, so they start breaking into an empty house nearby. And while Kraus is thinking to himself, how pathetic Oliver is, Oliver goes, I'm scared, pathetically. It's literally like so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Um,
He's being so
poor
mean.
Oliver. Poor Oliver. I wanted to like pull all the quotes that Kraus thinks about Oliver chapter because he's literally like, I fucking hate this guy. He's so boring and he's so pathetic and he doesn't know anything. And it's like he obviously like thinks mean stuff about Cody, but like Cody is like actively trying to antagonize him. Oliver is just existing. It's so sad. Um
Yeah.
Yeah, so Oliver points out how the soldiers like totally tensed up when they saw Cody break the window of the house. And so they pushed Jess to tell them more of what's going on with the Seamerg. And Jess is like, fine, I'll do that when Cody comes back. And I pulled a quote here.
Yeah. Fuck waiting for Cody, Kraus said. Kraus, Luke admonished.
I imagine Luke saying it in like the voice of a disappointed girlfriend, like Kraus.
Yeah.
Um, So Cody unlocks the front door for the rest of them to enter the house. It's like a cool maximalist house. It's covered in art and magazine and bird sculptures. And Kraus is confused like as to where the fucking people went because he kind of thought that everyone was like hunkered down in their houses. And clearly this is empty. They even knocked first, I guess thinking that there would be people there. Because I would have, you know, seems
You would have
seems
not
pretty empty.
knocked?
I guess I would have knocked to make sure there was no reaction, but they like seemingly are knocking for like they like knock and ring the doorbell like many times. Um so they settle Noelle down and like lay her on her side so she's not choking on her blood and stuff. And Marissa goes to check her pulse. Um
Typical
and
woman
Noelle kind
choking
of
on her blood.
yeah, And Noel kind of shifts a bit. I didn't mention how many times it happens, but between these last few chapters, Kraus is like continuously making people check Noelle's pulse and check that she's breathing, and like he just constantly thinks that maybe when he wasn't paying attention for 5 seconds, she died.
Is she dead?
He's like, "Can you make sure she's not dead?" Actually, like, holy shit, dude. So now that they're all together, they're like, Jess, we need you to explain. But she's totally wimping out. And Kraus asks her if the Seamerg is making them insane. And Jess is like, not permanently.
We're not permanently insane. It's fine.
Yeah, so Jess explains that when the Seamerg first showed up somewhere and started her singing, everybody like started freaking out and their emotions were all amped up and they were like rioting and shit and just like wreaking havoc. So Kraus clarifies that you mean the soldiers are just scared that we're going to become a mob? And Jess like definitely hesitates before agreeing. So Kraus is further suspicious that she's hiding things.
What else of
So
mine is she? I just keep having Brad Neely like. I don't know if you've ever seen Wizard People, but most of the stuff you're saying is like setting off Wizard People lines in my head.
So everyone starts going off to gather supplies and work on things. And Jess is like, Kraus, can you go get fluids for us? And he's like, no, I'm watching Noelle. Duh.
I've got to just stare at her.
And she's like, okay, well, I can watch her because I can't do anything. And he agrees to that. It's just like, it's like an afterthought that anybody else could possibly watch Noelle for him. Um, while in the kitchen, he hears a small repetitive banging sound and he finds there's like a pet bird that they left in the kitchen and he's just repeatedly banging its head against the cage and it's like splattering blood onto the newspapers and stuff. It's pretty gruesome. Honestly, I would freak out pretty bad at this. Out of like everything.
It's like a pretty
Um
like weird fucked up thing to walk in on.
yeah, yeah. So Kraus like freaks out and he feels like things are starting to align. And he mercy kills the bird and dumps the cage so that nobody else sees. Um, and he sheathes the knife that he used and keeps it on him for monsters or whatever.
Look,
Um,
I need to be
he
holding a knife. It's important for reasons, okay?
Literally, like Wildbow had to add a line where he thinks to himself, "I'll need this knife if we run into any monsters," because like if he hadn't done that, people would be like, "Kraus is evil, and the whole thing is him being evil." I get it. It was a sus move, but I also get keeping a knife on you. Greg said. Uh-oh, sounds like Victoria and Casey need to come over for a Wizard People, Dear Reader movie night.
Kaboom.
Um,
It's true.
Bird, sure, but consider. We know from Ward that in some anomalous situations, animals can trigger. With the Seamerk screaming at everyone in the city, the tigers in the zoo could have a Tigger event. Okay. That's
My
so
word.
mortifying.
My word.
And their power is that they can bounce around on their stupid ass tails. It's not a very good power at all.
They well, it could be a good mover power. I mean, if
It is
like
it
parahumans
is a good
level.
mover power. I think it would be. I think it'd be. I mean, we've seen Tigger do some crazy tricks.
You
I
know,
feel like he's pretty advanced.
I double checked. Madison, they do have a zoo.
Mmm, spooky. Well, I'm glad that this cockatoo thing did not trigger because that's upsetting. Um, So he returns to the living room, and as he goes to give Jess her water, he uh, asks her something. And I pulled a quote here.
Oh, so he hissed, "This thing with the Seamark, the singing, it's not even half of the problem here. Is Is it? We're far more fucked than that. You know, I feel
And
like
he's like
we're far more
holding
fucked than
her
that
cup
is not a great thing
hostage.
to whisper.
It's just like so because I really like, even though I've like heard or read this chapter like 3 times or whatever now, I didn't think he confronted her literally immediately, and then it's like in front of like there's just other people in the room,
In front of everybody in a hissing voice.
and he's like angrily like holding her water cup hostage, like she goes to grab it and he just doesn't let it go.
Luke, nothing
It's
suspicious
like
is happening here.
clearly so sus. So Jess tells him it's not a priority, and Kraus gets pretty pissed, and he tells Jess that she's hiding something else about the sea merc, but Jess says it would just make everything worse if she told everyone. And like Luke notices this conversation because he's literally in the room, and he's like, "No whispering, because we're all fucked up right now, and also just keep calm, and we need to all keep our emotions in check because of what Jess told us that we're gonna go crazy." So, um, suddenly there's gunfire outside, and everyone inside takes cover. And they see outside the window there are two Case 53s. Um, but the gunfire ceases, and Kraus notices that Noelle hadn't reacted to it at all, which is concerning. So he checks in on her, but she's just totally unresponsive. And Kraus asks Marissa to give Noelle like a thorough checkup and to look for any injuries when she could be like bleeding somewhere that they can't see, because like the way that she's reacting with the amount of blood that they've seen her lose just doesn't like add up. Um, so he throws a sheet over for Luke to cover his head because he can't leave his room right now from his injured leg. And Luke gets this is like, Luke, come on. He's like, I think you're doing a bit much. I think that maybe he thought that Kraus is like being possessive or something, and like that's why he gets irritated.
Yeah.
That he's like being like a jealous boyfriend, like, oh, nobody but me can see Noelle kind of thing. But like that's like not what's happening. Which like Kraus explains. At least Kraus explains himself. I feel like Taylor often doesn't explain herself.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I think Taylor comes off better than Kraus does in most
Well,
situations.
that's the
Like,
thing is when Kraus explains himself, it always comes off as argumentative, and like the other person should have understood his intentions. Um yeah, and so like usually people get more annoyed.
yeah. It's like tough because everyone in this group is sort of like primed to be annoyed with Kraus because he's
Hmm.
like fucked around so much in their lives up to this point. Um,
Hmm.
so it is a bit of a tough one. I'm not sure what the answer for Kraus is, other than don't be such a shithead in the past.
Yeah, like I like understand that he feels like he needs to take leadership at this time, but I don't know. They maybe should have like deferred to maybe Jess to lead.
Jess should probably be the
Um,
leader
Jess should probably
because
be
she
the
knows the
leader.
most about this world.
Yeah, but like she can't go every like they're gonna go on a little adventure next chapter or whatever, and like she wouldn't have been able to come. So I don't know.
But if you
I
think
don't know
about
what the answer
this,
is.
you don't send the captain on the away team. They only do that on the TV so that the main actor can be there. But you shouldn't
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
send the captain down with the troops.
Because then everyone will die. Dale says Taylor explains herself with a hand wave of, at the final successful result, then walks away like a boss. Um, yeah, I mean Taylor like explains herself. She's like obviously thinks more about like what the person will be responsive to rather than like if I just explain myself, then they'll understand, which is very relatable because I'm always like, if somebody doesn't understand me, it's because I haven't explained at them hard enough. And that's something I do have to prevent myself from doing,
I
I
definitely
guess.
did that to somebody on the phone the other day where like it was clear that they didn't get my first explanation, But the second explanation they kind of got, and I still gave them the third explanation because I was
You just
like,
did it again.
well, it was three different ways of stating the same stuff, but I just thought it was too important for them to fuck up.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just was
I
like,
feel that.
look, this is you got to get this right.
I just do this with like, yeah, like with opinion matters. Like I always think that like, oh, well, you must not be understanding what I'm saying because you don't agree. And so then I just try again and try again, and it's obviously like making matters worse.
Oh yeah, I do that all the
Um,
time.
and that's what Kraus does. So Kraus explains that Noelle cares about this stuff and they need to respect that. I think that this is genuine of Kraus. Like I said, I don't think this is some like I need to fucking like nobody can see Noelle because Noelle's my girlfriend or anything. I don't know.
I
Um,
think, given who they all are, this would be a genuine and okay reaction, even if they weren't dating.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. So
And at no point is he
Kraus,
like, I should be able to see her. Like, that's not even in the
yeah,
equation.
he like also leaves the room. I don't know. I just like for Luke to be like, "You're taking this too far." It's like so easy to just not to just like do it. And like obviously, I don't know, maybe he doesn't know Noelle that great because like everybody else knows that Noelle has body issues. Like just everybody else can tell. And
I
and
think it's
Oliver,
I think it's less that he's like doing something like crazy, but it's like the way that he's doing it. Like he throws the blanket at Luke, and I think his vibes are just off, and everybody like
yeah.
he can't tell how bad his vibes are right now.
Yeah, he's failing the vibe check. And Oliver goes, "She's modest." And Kraus gets really, really mad at him.
Yeah, yeah,
He doesn't say anything, but he's like, "You fucking idiot. You don't know anything about her."
yeah.
Literally so
But
like
also the
I
way
did
that
laugh
he
out loud at
the
that.
way that he thinks it is like I don't know, pretty judgy of Noelle. He says Noelle's not modest, and this is in his brain, but Noelle's not modest. She's damaged.
Yeah,
Like,
and which it's like, what are you talking about? Like that's still modest. Like, do you not know what that word means? Like, I don't know. It's like that's to me. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about,
yeah, yeah.
because whatever. But let's see. Vale said Taylor. Oh, I already read this one. I'm dumb. Um, yeah, but he's all hopped up. He's all hopped up on Seaberg right now. Um, so Luke abides and he puts the sheet over his head, and the rest of the guys all go to the kitchen. Cody opens with, "She could die." This is
Yeah.
really when Cody pops off. He hadn't done anything wrong this whole time, and then he like just immediately starts like hounding Kraus for like, to me, this is like so irrelevant, like him talking about them dating and stuff. Like, dude, we have fucking higher priorities, I feel.
Well, there's that, but also like the flippancy, like even if she might die, like in what way are
You shouldn't
you
say
helping
that.
at all? Yeah, like
Yeah.
just be chill for 5 seconds, which we know that Cody, after 17.2, is never chill again.
Yeah, he literally was so chill. He was so chill in 17.1 and 17.2. Well, sorry, not 17.1, but
Just
in
17.2.
17.2.
It's his only
In
chapter
just
where he gets to look
17.2.
good. He's just a shit
But
the whole
it's like
rest.
17.1. I feel like all of that could have been so easily justified, but no, he ruins it for himself. Everyone was kind of on his side, and then he does this. He goes, "She could die," and then Kraus like kind of ignores him, and then he's like, "I don't like you, Kraus." And he says that he would fuck them over for himself or for Noelle, but that they can't afford to be enemies. And Kraus is just ignoring him, and he's like listening in
I
on
do like when he
them like
says that was
talking
never
in
a
the living room.
concern. Like, he just does not. Like the way he
He just
dismisses
doesn't care about
Cody
Cody.
is awesome. Like I know that they shouldn't be causing conflict, but sometimes when somebody burns somebody, you're just like, fuck yeah.
He's um it's like it's so funny because like the way Cody is acting is like so like out of pocket and stupid, but he is like picking up exactly on Kraus. Like he's like keying in on everything about him. He's like, you would fuck us over for Noelle and for yourself. And that's true. And then he's like, you're ignoring me because you don't think that I'm worth your attention. That's also true. And then he's like, you don't even care that we could possibly be enemies. That's also true.
Oh yeah, this
Like
this
he
dialogue back and forth is like a really really good Wildbow segment. I think it like shows his strength because he does stuff like this a lot later on as well. But like it's
Mhm.
you phrased it like you wouldn't care even if I was your enemy, and then he thinks to himself in italicized, "You are, and I don't really." And then so it's like a perfect counter, and read in the audiobook it sounds so good. And then the next line is Kraus shrugged.
He's just I wish I like knew what Cross was thinking in this scene because like the way that he's being so dismissive of Cody is like I don't know. It's just like I know that like Cody is being like fucking annoying in this scene and stuff, but I've never like ignored somebody like this before. Um
I have.
yeah.
But
So
I used to be real mean.
Cody asks why he's like not even worth his attention, and Cross is like, lol, shrug. And then Cody says that he's like making it really hard to be allies right now, and Kraus is like, lol, shrug. And then he verbally says, change of topic, and asks what they can get from the basement. So he, Cody, and Oliver head down the stairs.
Well, it makes
Um,
sense to do that because he's like Cody's just hounding him about how he asked out Noelle, and it's like, what is happening?
like this is so irrelevant, and like saying it's not even that his like points are like necessarily bad or wrong. Like I do think this is like a pretty nuanced discussion that could happen like about consent and about like pursuing somebody enthusiastically, you know what I mean? Like this is like in general society, this is a worthwhile conversation. It is not a fucking worthwhile conversation right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like so uncalled for. It's so irrelevant. It like super does not matter how they got together right now. It doesn't. And nobody cares. Nobody cares except for Cody. Um and yeah, like the way that he views it, like as he like walked away from the situation, like out of respect for Noelle or whatever. Which given Cody's personality, I don't even know if this is like an accurate conception of himself. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Hmm. Well, I don't know. I got distracted because I wanted to pull out the part where earlier where Cody had said that he has self control right after he clearly has no self control.
He keeps saying he keeps talking about how
Where
much
he
self
can't shut the
control he
fuck
has,
up.
and
Yeah.
it's like
So sorry. I
no,
got like wrapped up in that line of thought while that was happening.
you're good. Do you think it's accurate that like Cody just like respectfully walked away and was like nice and fine with Noelle rejecting
Oh,
him? Because like the way
I think that he probably thinks that's what happened, but there was probably a
that's
lot
what
of
I
like
think.
subconscious like him being a weird shit because like
Yeah.
I don't think that he can properly gauge his own actions. Like if he thinks he's in control of himself during that
That's
conversation,
true.
like because he's in front of, like, not only is this weird to have the conversation at all, but they're in front of Oliver, like he's not even there.
But Oliver is like such a nothing person to all of them that they'll just have whatever conversation in front of Oliver.
Oliver's power is that he already has Imp's power.
Yeah. It's so sad. He's literally standing there and then they're about to have another uncomfortable conversation downstairs. Like he's gonna continue it, and Oliver is also just standing there the whole time. Um
The like Oliver's power when he gets the vial portion he goes from accidentally having Imp's power to the oh no he's hot power where everyone's just like oh no he doesn't have any powers he's just hot.
But as we said before, even when he's hot, like Taylor like just completely misses him. Like she doesn't even concern herself with thinking about like why he's there, what his power is, why he doesn't go out with the team.
She doesn't think about how
Who she
fuckable he is, and for
she
her that's
doesn't.
like a baseline. Like when she sees someone she's gonna
Yeah, she's like there was a boy there, and then the next time she sees him, there was an attractive boy there, and then it's like, but like she doesn't even like refer to them as the same person. She doesn't wonder if they're the same person. She doesn't wonder if they're different people.
look.
She like is so
I mean, that's
no,
true. That's
nobody
true.
cares
But I just
about
thought it was
Oliver.
notable that even for like Luke, just a normal like human like looks wise dude, she's still like, man, I wouldn't kick him out of bed. But for Oliver, who has
Yeah.
the "you're hot now" power, she's like, eh.
Yeah.
Even when
So
you get the power, you're not as hot as your friend.
so they're looking through things in this basement. And Cody starts on his shit again immediately,
Mhm.
and he reminds Kraus that he asked Noelle out first,
Of course,
and
of
that he
course.
didn't pressure her, unlike Kraus. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and Kraus says to ask her about it, and Cody's like, "She's probably gonna die anyways. I'll never get to ask her." Um, and so Kraus says to drop the conversation, and Cody's like, avoiding the conversation just like you did 30 seconds ago. Like he's like, you have this repeated pattern. It's like this is literally the exact same conversation that he's still trying to avoid.
Yeah, this isn't a different conversation. You just walked like 10 paces
I
downstairs.
literally think that in any other context, Kraus would be so down to have this spat.
Oh yeah,
I
he
think
would
that
want to have
like
it out in front of everybody.
I don't
I
think he's like he's normally an avoider. Like, so I do think that it's genuine that he's like, this is not the time. Like,
like the way he
he
confronted
would
Cody in 17.1 makes it clear to me that if this didn't have like a monster out there or whatever, he would just be in front of Luke, Jess, Marissa, and Oliver being like, are you hearing what Cody is saying? Do you agree with Cody? Does
do
anyone?
you agree with Cody? He'd be like, Marissa, remind Cody that Noelle's been the happiest she's ever been since we started dating. He'd like pull out all the stops. Um, so
Dude,
I
he'd be
do
so
I do
bad.
believe I do believe Kraus when he says right after this, he's like, I'm literally avoiding this because the screaming in our head is actively making us more aggressive and lowering inhibitions. And then he's like, what's to say you won't attack me with your weapon? And then he immediately tries to give Cody a weapon. Um,
It's true.
and so he hands Cody a hatchet, and Cody's like, "Fuck that." Um, so Kraus interrupts Oliver's silent crying in the corner.
He
Nobody
does.
noticed that Oliver was
Give
crying in the corner.
he tries to give the hatchet to Oliver too. Oh yeah, right when he's crying. That's when it happens. Never mind. I was just
Yeah,
getting
right
ahead of
when he's
myself.
crying. So he comes over and he's like, "All right." I wrote, "Okay, I just do whatever other people tell me to do." So, Cody changes his mind because if a wimp like Oliver is gonna have a weapon, he's gotta have a weapon, and he accepts a crowbar, quote unquote, with a axe on the end of it? Question mark.
Oh, wait, let me see this here.
It's literally an insane weapon. Like, let's just search
Where does this? Oh
crowbar.
yeah, Crow.
It'll be the first crowbar talk.
Okay, he put it on the workbench, grabbed a crowbar with a pickaxe head. That makes sense to me. It just has a pick on the end.
Okay, okay. Like the sharp part, not like
I'll get you a
I don't
picture.
know. Okay. Vale said it's no fire axe, but it will do. Um, and then I did pull a quote here that I need you to read.
Yes. So Kraus touched the small chainsaw that hung on the wall, saw Cody and Oliver stiffening in alarm, and decided against it.
Kraus does consider other people's feelings when he makes decisions. It's so fucking funny. I feel like I would do this too. I'd be like, a weapon, and then someone would have a reaction, and I'd be like, all right, not that one.
Yeah.
So Kraus instead grabs a makeshift spear made out of some like pipe and a hammer, and they head upstairs. So Noelle's all fucked up. She's got like a huge, hard, inflamed bruise across the entire side of her stomach. So to me that sounds like internal bleeding. I don't exactly know what it is. Like maybe something tore. Um,
Hopefully this
but
opens on my
Kraus
right
says
screen
that,
and not cool. I was opening
yeah.
a snip. Although I did. Oh no! You saw his
Oh no.
background of the ocean. Now I feel so embarrassed. It is good that it wasn't on one of Daniel's weird anime backgrounds, frankly. But
um,
this image here is one of these three styles is probably what he has. But yeah,
it was just oh, you sent it in DMs. Okay. Yeah, see, the first thing is what I was imagining.
here I'll put it on the server too.
And then like, yeah, I just had not like see. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? This is such like a weird Taylor weapon. So yeah, they go upstairs. Noelle's like has some fucking huge injury all over her stomach, and she's like bleeding. She's like bleeding out internally for sure. Um, Vale
Yeah, she's
says
had internal
chainsaw is
bleeding
definitely
since she got crushed. Sorry, go on.
yeah. Chainsaw is definitely a villain weapon, and they're clearly not villains, so he couldn't take it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
He's actually a hero, protagonist, some would say.
yeah. So he is like okay, sorry, I lost my spot. But Kraus is like, okay, I'm just gonna leave and go look for a doctor. And Cody's like, you're playing the gallant boyfriend because I emasculated you. And Kraus like screamed at him in response, which is so funny. Um, I think that that's fair. Like, Cody, what are you even on about? Like, they've been trying to save her this whole time. They had all agreed, like, let's get into shelter and then we'll talk about like finding medical help. This
He
has
also
like
agreed
always
to
been the
hand her
plan.
off like way earlier. Like Kraus
Yeah.
was carrying
This
Jess,
like
not Noelle, earlier. So
this has always been the deal. So he I don't know, that was just baffling to me. Um so he's like, I'm gonna go and I would be happy if people join me, but it doesn't matter to me. So Cody and Marissa both volunteer to come, and Marissa takes up the hammer and they head outside. So Krauss thinks again how the soldiers don't really make sense with Jess's story. Like they're just there for an angry mob, which like if they're not going to interact with them and like actually stop them from hurting each other, then like why are they actually there? It doesn't make any sense. Marissa asks where all the people are, and Kraus says that he says they're evacuated, and he lies and says it must have happened when we were climbing out of the apartment.
yeah.
So he's glad that Jess is back with the others to stop them from going to look for their families. Because the truth is they've all been transported from Earth Aleph into Earth Bet. Da da
Oh
da.
shit.
What a good reveal. For some reason I had thought that like Kraus figures this out and then like doesn't tell us for a really long time, but it was literally in the same chapter, so I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna.
But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say. There was a bit. I was just skimming down into your 17.4. I think there's a bit of a mix-up between Gueris and Agesa. Agesa's the dude, and Gueris is the really tall lady.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But
I
either
only mixed it up in that first spot, I think.
mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so Kraus had figured out that they were on a different Earth when he was looking at the bird. It had like newspaper in its cage or whatever, and there was like a headline about the president, and it is not their president, it is the Earth Aleph president. And I don't think that like info on its own would have done it, but like there had been like too much data like adding up to this, and so that's why he was like, Jess, what the fuck?
Yeah. And everybody's really mad at well, it'll turn out that Kraus lies and says he was the one who had the idea to not tell people. But I guess people are more mad about it than I would be in the situation. It's like there's just I don't know. It's like, what are you gonna do if you know? Like, keeping that information to themselves is honestly fine in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how upset I would have been. Like, obviously, like once you start asking questions and then like the people are like lying a lot, then it's like that's pretty fucked up. But also, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, Jess was right to not have said anything, but also there was like a couple times when it was like making things more confusing. Like when they're walking around, when they're like trying to navigate the city, and Luke is like getting distressed because he doesn't recognize anything, and he's like, I don't understand, like this must be a new neighborhood or something, like I'm so confused.
Yeah.
But like they were still moving, so it's not like telling them that info would have done anything, but you know.
Yeah.
So
I also wanted to pull
go ahead.
out the greatest line in the chapter, which I think I said, but I just have to go back to, which is, they're shooting at us! Oliver.
They're shooting at us. Oh my god, Oliver. He's so embarrassing this chapter.
You know what I realized?
He's
I
yeah.
didn't use him as the basis for my Oliver, but Oliver is one of the 4 Novigod kids from that Russian Christmas song, Novigod.
Mm.
He looks just like the bowl cut Novigod kid. And I'm very proud of
Yeah,
that,
you
that
know
I
who else?
accidentally...
You know who else is a blonde bowl cut kid named Oliver? Oliver Tree, the musician.
Oliver
That's all.
Tree. All right.
I feel like maybe there's something about the name. I think that's his name, Oliver Tree.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as I remember,
Oliver
he's
Tree,
got
I
like
think that there's a character in Venture Brothers that's based off of how he looks. And that character was what I was thinking of Oliver the whole time.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, let me see if I can... Really...
Vale says our first puppy was named Oliver, so anytime I hear the name, I get a little happy. He was a sweetheart. Oh, that's cute. My parents, one of their dogs is also Oliver.
It's
He
Augustus
goes by
St.
Ollie
Cloud.
though. That's so funny.
And oh boy, I forgot he has a sidekick who also has a bowl cut.
Matching bowl cuts is iconic.
Um, uh, I don't have that much more to say about this chapter. It's another good one. I feel like Kraus, and I'll say it while I'm still thinking of it because I might forget by the character section. I think like Kraus is he's a good alternative to Alec because frankly, even though most of the audience seems to think he's more of a shit, like all of his actions, like his negative actions and stuff, are much more justifiable, even though he was an older age, than like the stuff that Alec had done in his past, which is pretty fucking bad and like fucked up. I don't think that Kraus does anything close to what Alec does, but he's still like
do people think that like
I think
Kraus
people have a
like
worse opinion of Kraus than they
evil?
should. Like when I heard people talking about it on other streams, it's like
Mm-hmm.
The opinion of Kraus, like some people find him pretty relatable, like Scott and Matt did, and I did, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people seem to find him to be like this irredeemable villain, and like
The thing about Kraus
it's
is,
crazy to me.
I think the reason that he's like so relatable to Matt and Scott, and they say this specifically, is he's so teenage boy coded, and he's so teenage, and he's that specific, like he's got
He's
he's
got the
got
gamer
the talent,
personality.
he's got the intelligence, and he kind of has the social skills. And so like when you have all of those things and you're like a teenage boy, like things can get a little wacky. um I just think that I don't know. Like, obviously, he does not the best stuff, and he's like often is like we're gonna see in this chapter, like he's got like weird conversations with Noelle, where he's like needing something out of her to get him to back off, and like putting that on her, which to like in his mind obviously like makes sense to do, but like
I like
once you're
kind
like
of
older
I
and
do
more
understand,
mature,
yeah, his perspective where he like totally doesn't
yeah,
get it, but at the same time it's like so clear there is a problem and that she can't bring herself to confront like telling him like she wants so badly to leave the relationship but also is being like hurt by the concept of telling him uh
hmm
it
yeah,
it's I
it's
don't know
just like,
I
and to me that's like, this is like, so like these are just like mistakes that happen because of inexperience and immaturity and youth. And so like I just don't hold him like, it's not that I don't hold him responsible for it, but it's like I'm not going to judge him to the extent that like I would judge an adult in this situation.
yeah, and like they're like a year older when they meet Taylor or whatever, but at this point they're like 16 or whatever.
Mhm.
And like that conversation probably happened when they were like 15, and
Mhm.
it's like it's sad that they're in such a shitty state and that they're this exact pair where she doesn't feel like she can be honest with him, and like he kind of entraps her with that in a way.
Yeah.
But it's so I don't know. It feels very lifelike. It reminds me of like actual not situations I was directly in, but like, friends
Mhm.
relationships kind of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I like don't think that he's like trying to be manipulative. I think he literally doesn't understand.
oh yeah, for sure,
And
for sure. And from if
yeah.
we only saw the scene from Noelle's perspective once, then I'd be like, that's pretty bad. It seems like whatever. But we see it from his perspective first, and we see it like so many other things. It's like clear that he has noble intentions, but that he's like a dumb, like even for a teenager, a dumb teenager.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like clever and
Yeah.
stuff, but socially he is terrible. And at like actually achieving his goals of making Noelle or himself happy, terrible.
Yeah, like he says, he like acts all happy at the end of, well, I mean, we'll get into it, but at the end of their flashback, and then he thinks to himself, this is like literally the worst day of my life. And it's like, dude, you're like pretending that whatever. Like, he's just like not being honest with how things are actually feeling
But yeah,
versus
another
like
thing
how
is like
he
he's clearly
thinks that
so
they could be
scared
feeling.
to be honest with Noelle, and then there's an extension to that. He is scared of honestly acknowledging his own feelings in that moment, like because probably on a low key level, he's like, well, damn, if it feels like this all the time, and if it's like maybe not going to go back, maybe we should split up. But he's like so worried about that he can't acknowledge that that's like a thing going on. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because he
Hmm.
does he
Yeah.
does seem to understand that there's some like lingering stagnant air between them, and that it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to
Hashtag Cross did nothing wrong.
hashtag moving on to the Kraus image. Boom.
Oh yeah, pull up. Very
How
nice,
how do
very
you guys
nice.
all feel about Kraus now that you've seen Oliver and Kraus? I'm really working on the noses.
Um,
They're hella tough.
yeah, I agree. Noses are really hard. I feel like I have a really hard time with mouths. And like I said, placement. But I like this. You said that you were like, oh, the ear's all fucked. I think the ear looks fine.
Good, good. I'm glad. Um,
I didn't even think about it, and then and then I had recalled that you said that, and I was like, oh, I need to go look at the ear specifically. It looks fine.
cool,
No.
cool. Yeah, I was worried about his right ear. I thought his left ear was like okay, and that his right ear was maybe too big. Cause oh, I think also you might have gotten thrown off the internet again. Yeah. Um, until Vic is back. Greg said
Can you
feels
hear
like
me?
he should be playing ping pong. Oh, you are back. And yes, it
It
does
is my.
feel like I drew him to be a ping pong the animation character. Which if someone thinks that about my drawings, that's a good thing. So
That's so funny. Okay, yeah, let's get into it. Seventh ear, right? His right ear, which is my left. 0.4. We are walking outside with Cody, Kraus, and Marissa. They're walking along the perimeter of the fence until they hear a scream. And Marissa's like, we should go help that person. And Kraus says, yes, we should utilize their resources. Um, so they enter a plaza area. It's like between two other buildings. I guess they're like restaurants or something. Um, so inside a fast food place, there are 9 people, and 3 quote unquote monsters. And one of them is holding one of the people to the ground. So there's a 4-armed man with knife hands named Ajiza. Is that how you would say it? Or
I think it's
Ajiza?
Agesa, but I'm not 100% sure. Like that's just how Crispy pronounces it in the audiobook. And he
Ajiza.
sounds
Okay.
confident, so I believe him.
I trust them. And then there's this big 7-foot lady named Gueris, and then a striped lady named Matroska. Is that right? Or is
Yeah,
it
I think you
Matryoska?
I've always heard it without the Y being pronounced very much. But like
Mm-hmm.
Matryoshka, I think is like my really bad American accent version of saying it is Matryoshka.
Mm-hmm. Matryoshka. Yeah. So they discuss what they're gonna do to get to safety. The Case 53s do, and Matryoshka reaches down to the person that they're holding to the ground, and Kraus like sees her like unfurl a little bit and then come back up, and she's got a new look. She's got like a new face and darker hair, and her horizontal lines are thinner now, which is interesting. I wonder if like when she like puts enough people in there that you can't see them or something. um I guess that would kind of make sense because they're like layered in. I'm not sure. So Gueris tells her to eat them next, and Matryoshka says that she might digest her if they take too long. And so but she agrees, and she opens up her like ribbon skin, and Kraus charges in, and just immediately starts stabbing people.
Yeah, it's true. He just stabs Agesa
he
right away.
Yeah, so he goes and stabs a geisha, and he falls to the ground
This is one
and
of the
is like trying
most
to stop.
like it seems like the Seamerg somehow compelled him to do this. This is the most direct it feels because it's just so like for what they're doing, it's very out of pocket.
It's so, and like I think that he thinks that Matryoshka like killed that person, um, because like they like are kind of speaking in like broken English up to this point,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of smooths out a little bit, but because they're talking in their native language originally, but Matryoshka can't understand them. So they're speaking in English, and they say eat. They're like referring to eating the people, but from what Matryoshka says, she is only like killing them if they're in there for a few hours. So she like folds around them, like her ribbons expand, and then she folds around them, and then the person's inside, and then like can seemingly like dispense of them later, and they're fine. And I don't think that they're not trying to eat these people; they're trying to use them for something, right?
I think that they're the baseline people. She's kind of eating to get their knowledge and be able to speak English.
Yeah.
Like I think that she's like actually trying to eat some of these people.
Yeah, but I don't know, because she says so later. She says that they need to like hurry because the lady inside of her is going to dissolve. And
Yeah.
so I don't know,
Well,
maybe she
maybe
just
she just
means she
wants
needs to
the
eat another
knowledge
person.
temporarily. Like maybe
Yeah.
she feels as though they need more info because like for all we know, the world they're from doesn't have cars. They refer to
Yeah.
vehicles, but they don't. I think something like that. But they don't refer to any specific vehicles because they don't have like the general baseline knowledge of like what the hell any of our vehicles do.
Yeah. So it's like maybe they're killing them, but like Krauss does not have any info. He just fucking runs in and starts stabbing them. And like I get that they're like monsters, but they also saw monsters outside that
Did you
they
see what
didn't
Vale said?
approach, because Vale said she only eats the delicious one, then tries to explain with reasonable sounding excuses, like learning like learning English from them. Yeah, that's that would be what would happen if Taylor had gotten her power. Um,
I needed to eat.
I needed to eat them. I needed it. Um, but earlier I didn't mention it, but they like pass. I don't think they pass like very closely, like they avoid them, but the monsters are outside and like they see them and then they go around them. So it's not like Kraus is just like going out and like fucking stabbing them for fun. But I like don't understand what he's doing here.
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe this was pushed. And he does mention at this point that the singing has gotten increasingly louder, like astronomically louder, and it ramps up during this altercation.
Yeah,
So,
it's like they're talking about the part where someone can or can't be digested or toughness working on that, and that's when like it's the I get it, fine, kneel, easier if I don't have to climb. Like there's that happening, and then Kraus just like I think he's attacking because there's like theoretically an opening when Matryoshka is
yeah, that's what he
starting to
said,
consume
but
Gueris. It's just
yeah.
so again out of pocket. Like it's just like couldn't afford to wait until Matria. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like insane. So he runs in, and like luckily the guy that he's stabbing like is not getting killed by this. Because when he first did it, I was like, oh my god, I does he kill them? But he it does not seem like he does. So Kraus spears Agiza and he falls to the ground and he's like bleeding out and trying to cover it. So Kraus takes that opportunity and stabs him again. And then he just like starts smacking him on the head, like trying to get him to pass out or die. And a Giza turns into a black cloud of smoke and disappears. So Kraus yells at the civilians to run, and they listen. So yeah, I think he thinks that they're like actively attacking the civilians, which it does seem like they're like
they've
using
like
them, like they're
trapped them here.
antagonizing
Yeah,
them. They trapped them, but like this just seems like I get it. He's in fucking fight or flight, and he's been in fight or flight for a while now. So he turns to Gueris and Matryoshka, and they had been like folding into each other like in the middle of the process. Like she kind of like absorbed Gueris's arm, but not the rest of her yet. So Kraus slashes at Matryoshka's like open body, her like body ribbons. And then he like starts to plan his next attack, and then he's like, "What am I doing?" Like that does like lend itself to like he was being like pushed by the sea merg, because it like takes he like has a moment where he's like, I'm like overdoing this. Like I don't know what I'm doing. And then he's like, I should just leave. Like why am I fucking stabbing these people?
Yeah, yeah.
um and so he turns to go, but then his scythe hands guy reappears behind him, and he's got like one of his scythe hands to his throat and stuff. So Matryoshka puts herself back together, and Gwaris tells her to fold Kraus in because they'll need him. Maybe they'll get his stupid bravery, as she calls it. So Agiza and Gwaris are rightfully pretty mad at Kraus, and I pulled a quote here.
They are enemies, Gwaris growled. They hunt us. We're not hunting you, Kraus said.
I could
As
see
he
why they
runs
thought
in and
you were, as he hunts them, as he like literally attacks while they're distracted and starts fucking stabbing them to death.
I just realized,
Um,
like, it might be an incredibly poor choice for Matryoshka to eat Gwaris, which she does not do, because
mhm.
given Gwaris's power, it might damage Reflect being digested and just absolutely kill the both of them.
Maybe that's what she meant by I'm tough. Um, so they kick and push him around a little bit. It's a little bit deserved. Giza presses a scythe to Kraus's eye, and Kraus just starts like listening to the Seamerk song, and he is thrown into a flashback. Oh my gosh.
And it's so funny how it
So
happens, too, because he's like, lunch tray. I remember a lunch tray.
had a lunch tray once. He's so crazy. Um, So Kraus is introducing himself to Noelle, and he tells her that he had actually got her a paper in class, and he likes the way she thinks. And he says it was nerdy in all the best ways. And she's like just clearly not engaging with the conversation. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna leave now.
It seems like she
Um,
has like a very high like level of like all around social anxiety. Like she just can't deal with being in
mhm.
a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, and I mean, this was like I was definitely like this in high school. Like people would talk to me and I would get like immediately like get fucking weird and shut down.
It's so funny how
Um
like absolutely opposite, you
yeah.
know, our I don't know
I
our teenage selves were. Because I don't
yeah,
consider
I
us
thought
like that different. Not like obviously we're very different people, but like I would consider us
mhm.
much closer together and like kind of similar. Whereas if you compare us before, we're like just opposites.
Yeah, I agree. I was very Noel. Just like I would fucking sit in I would even like go as far like just to avoid people like at lunchtime like possibly talking to me. I would like go and sit in corners like between um between like locker sets so that nobody could see me.
Oh man.
I don't know what I was doing. So but like Kraus picks up on it and he's like, okay, I'll fuck right off. So he turns to leave and he sees Marissa. He sees Marissa come up and she got pizza for both of them. And so he's like really surprised that they're friends because Marissa's so hot and cool. Um, and so she tells him to leave. She's like, get away from Noel immediately because he's like such a shithead. And he's like, it's okay, I'm already going. But Noel pipes up and asks about them knowing each other. So she actually is like, that's the thing is like he like registers at first that she like does not want to talk to him, but it's like clearly like some kind of social anxiety that she like overcomes a little bit when Marissa comes over.
I feel like
Um,
she's showing interest in a way that like the fact that Kraus comes back to the table, etc. The fact that he I don't know, that he engages with her more. Like maybe he was always going to do that, but it feels as though he's responding to the way she is bringing him back into it.
Yeah, and I want to believe that this is like a genuine perspective of what happened, because it kind of lends a lot more like of a positive light towards their relationship, because she does seem genuinely interested in him, and he does like go to like leave several times and she keeps re-engaging him. um
So
so like
I was going to say too that I think that their relationship was not all bad. I think that she should, or he should have let her break up with him when she was trying to, and I think that they could have
mhm.
like
I
gotten
think they
back
could have
together
rekindled
later.
things.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
just
for
don't
sure.
think that like I think that staying in that moment, like staying together, was a death knell on the future prospects of them together, basically.
Yeah. 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 I think that she was like essentially, but like she didn't like have the words to communicate because whatever. Like I think she was asking for a break, honestly. Like, let's just fucking pause that, like put this on pause, and then when I'm ready, we can like come back to it. Because she says so many times, like, the problem is that I is not that I don't like you, and I do like you, and I do want to be with you, but it's like not happening right now. Yeah. So I think that this like chapter, well, this like flashback in particular, like does enlighten me on like things are not exactly as like Cody had put them. With like Kraus like putting with like Noelle being uninterested in him,
I do
and
still
that
think he
Kraus was
probably
pursuing.
like I'm
I'm
not
sure
sure
that
if
he
he
was like,
asked her out multiple times based on like what Cody had said in the previous chapter because he doesn't say like no I didn't do that, but it just doesn't
mm-hmm.
feel like he didn't just hound her into this. I do know people who were just like hounded into being in a relationship basically,
Oh yeah, same here.
and it's pretty fucked when that happens. It's usually a really
Yeah.
really toxic bad relationship.
I can give one example, and you can like definitely see the difference where like this was my a English teacher I had in high school who said that her um her now husband had become interested in her when they were in high school, and just would come to her house every day in the morning and offer her a ride, and every day she would say no.
Yeah.
And like that's on like a level that like is to me like clearly wrong.
The thing is,
um
I feel bad about myself when I even put somebody in a situation like that. Like it would
mhm.
hurt my own feelings to do that the first time I came back, basically. Like to do
I
that
think the thing
every
is that
day. Oh my god.
I think the thing is that Kraus is so confident that Noelle is interested in him. And I like don't think that I kind of like after this scene, I'm like she's like immediately interested in him and wants to talk to him. She starts talking to him like three separate times when he's trying to leave.
Look, maybe it's just the way I drew him, but Kraus is kind of hot, right?
Garth is kind of hot, right? He's got that. I'm trying to remember the word that. Oh,
he's
austere.
he's
He
ethnically
uh
ambiguous. That's what he is.
Coil Coil calls him austere, and but it like comes off as like a compliment. He's got that hot bird face. We
I'm
love
not
it.
sure that I
We
captured
love to
his
see it.
greatest moment. I think that this is him being like in shock or in awe of something.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. This is him playing ping pong.
yeah.
This is him. I feel like this is him like seconds before he charges in and stabs those people. He's like
This is
watching the
him while he's
situation
having one of his
unfold.
visions. This is no, this is him when he's
Yeah, yeah,
phased out of
yeah.
reality and he's just sort of staring off into space and no one can look at him.
I think this expression looks works for a lot of Krause's moments. He's like constantly like bewildered.
After I
Okay,
finished the
so
drawing, I was like
I
worried because I didn't give him a hooked nose because I like the actor kind of who I based him off of, kind of has a hook nose ish, but like from this angle, it definitely doesn't look like it. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's okay. Um, we can always fix it in post, you know.
Exactly.
I do have a quote here about
Oh, sure.
Marissa and Krause's dynamic.
Hmm. So I know exactly what to watch out for with you, Marissa said. At any given point in time, you're pulling some nefarious prank, you're manipulating others to get what you want, you're making someone else look bad. Stop. All this praise is going to make me blush.
I think this is really funny. And this is the thing, like, I do think he and Marissa kind of have like a good dynamic because she's not ever saying, "You've done these things to me." Like, it seems like he does them next to her and then she like has to deal with it.
Well, again, I'm
Um,
I'm like convinced that Kraus could have like a proper relationship with either Jess or Noelle, or I mean, or
Marissa.
Marissa, but not with Noelle. He literally picked the only one that he's not compatible with.
Listen, she's so cool though. He likes the way she thinks. Also, I hadn't remembered that he reads her paper and then like goes out of his way to compliment that. I do think that that is endearing because he like was not interested in her at this point.
Yeah, he
Um,
wasn't into her before. What makes him into her is the paper. So like I
yeah,
think
the
that's
paper.
that kind of thing is important because it's not like, oh, you were just the hot one, or like it's just it's
Yeah.
really like he is like the way he thinks about Marissa and like not going for Marissa, and then the way he thinks about Jess and not going about Jess are both like kind of sus, but
Hmm.
like this grew out of something very organically,
Yeah.
whereas like I mean maybe so did those other sort of like excuses for why he wouldn't be in early. I just felt like those were post
I don't
hoc.
think
Like
so.
I'm already with Noelle, so I
I
have
think
these
it's more
reasons why I
like
can't like be interested in the other girls or something.
yeah, I think it's just more like I don't know. I think it's like the weird things that have been programmed in him, honestly, like coming out um, of just like looking at a girl and inherently thinking about like, should I date her? And then coming up with a reason of what's wrong with her.
Yeah, yeah.
As I said, he's very, very teenage boy in so many ways. Um, so Kraus does start to leave again because Marissa's like, I'll tell you about this thing that he did one time. But then he hears them talking about ransack and he spins around and he's like, oh my gosh, you guys are in the qualifiers. That's awesome. So he tells them good luck. And Noel asks if he plays. And Marissa like gives him permission basically to sit and talk with them, which is funny. He like looks at her and she like kind of nods.
Also, you know what I'm sort of it's hard to like exactly put into words. I feel like while he is a shit, he's like
Hmm.
he does it in a different way because she's like, "Oh, you're gonna make fun of us for being girls who play video games." Like, I don't think he would ever do that. Like, I don't think that's in his sort of
No.
natural repertoire. Like him, when he's being a shit to people, he's like picking something really specific about them. I would bet. Um,
Yeah, his little shitness is very like I think he like thinks of himself as somebody who doesn't like subscribe to and he even says that like in his relationship with Noelle. He's like, I don't care about like what's normal for relationships. I care about like what's making us happy. And I think that's kind of true with like probably with his mischief as well. Like he doesn't exactly care about what would be like the most um
he's not here to hurt
like he
everybody's
could
feelings per se. He's here to
he's
have
not
fun.
yeah yeah he's just trying to have a good time and he doesn't care if other people think that it's funny or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he gets pulled back to reality when he hears Marissa scream. Vale says, I have to run for dinner. I'll catch the rest after. Thanks and take care. Yeah, have a good dinner.
Bye.
And I did pull another quote here.
Mm-hmm. In a strange way, he was pissed. Pissed in the Am I on the right one? Yeah. Pissed in the way
Yeah.
that he might be if he'd been woken abruptly from a good dream. He knew it wasn't rational. Knew it wasn't even healthy to think that way when the Seamerg was this dangerous, this insidious. But he was still upset.
Yeah. Yeah. She's giving him weird feelings. It's interesting because like other people are getting like bad memories. I feel like they're mostly like just baseline like bad and like making them feel upset. But like his is definitely different. Like this one was a positive memory for him. And he is like he gets triggered when he gets pulled out of it rather than like he gets pulled into it and then he's like sad about having witnessed it or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I
So
also
girl,
would
go ahead.
say, like, it's an important factor, in my opinion, that, like, when he does bring himself back, he immediately, like, hears the screaming. Like, he's being,
Hmm.
he's being, uh, how to say, he's being shunted in a direction where it's more preferable for him to keep reliving the memories where he is not hearing the screaming, even though it's probably like
Yeah.
that's it working on him is him not hearing it. But like,
Yeah, because she takes away the singing when like they're shunted into their flashbacks.
yeah. So it's like kind of double whammy. Either you're getting the song super strong, or you're it's what she wants anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's a real speaking of manipulative. If people think Kraus is manipulative, man, have you
The
met the Seamerg?
schemer, yeah. Um,
Kraus would have never done this.
Oh, and the first power he sort of sees is Agesa in a way. Like I know he sees Matryoshka open up or whatever, but he
Hmm.
sees Agesa like turn into dust and instantly thinks he teleported. Like he's looking
Yeah.
around for
He,
him.
man, he's already got teleportation on his mind. And you know what? He
Teleport
he
brain.
does
It's like
some
waffle
more.
brain.
Yeah, he does some more thinking about powers in these chapters, and I'm like, man, he is really just perfect for this, honestly. Like he's got the power brain down, you know? Like as soon as he gets like a little bit of like education on it and stuff, I think,
I I
he's
like
gonna be really good at that.
I know it would be just self-indulgent and not really anything that we need to see for the story, but seeing them fight for real before they come to Brockton Bay would be awesome. Um,
Hmm.
I'd kind of want
Oh
to see
yeah,
that from
I would have
Krause's
loved that.
perspective, but it would probably be very like I don't know, hard to write. It feels like
Hmm.
it already feels hard to write when he's there because he can muck things up so easily and so quickly.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I do like to see like team dynamics like that, but also it's I don't know. I mean, he has a little bit of fighting in the upcoming chapters, but even when they're like fighting as a group, it's like weird because of Ballistic and Sundance are not fully participating, like because they can't,
yeah,
because they'll kill everybody.
but he can do
Yeah.
stuff like
So
teleporting a Genesis form into the midst of a bunch of heroes, and I don't know. It's like it could
yeah.
be something that can just reach out and punch everybody at once or something.
Oh, so cool. They're such a good dynamic. So Krause, he comes to and he digs his fingies into Igesa's wound, which is not very nice, and then he slits his throat with the bird-killing knife that he had in his pocket. So Igesa disappears again, and Krause yells at everybody to run. He realizes that since he's been out, that like Sundancer was fighting what's her name? Guerras. And then Cody had been fighting Matryoshka. So like they might not be in the state to fight, but that doesn't stop him from running away. Um
But doesn't he draw them
so
off?
Guerras, yeah, you're right. So Guerras starts chasing Kraus when he tries to leave. And
Yeah, I never got the feeling
she
for a
catches
second he
up.
was going to leave Marissa. He'd leave Cody,
Yeah.
but
He would leave Cody in a heartbeat. Like, he was causing problems. I don't know. Guys, he just ran in there and started stabbing people. It was crazy. He's so violent and angry.
Well, he is like totally crazy because it's not until next chapter, but like when we see Cody again, he was theoretically supposed to be looking for Kraus, but was just standing there.
I know. So Gwaris chases Kraus and she ends up catching him when they hit the plaza. So he stabs her hand, but then like the injury imposes itself on him instead. But luckily a man near them proclaims, "Be gone, thought," and suddenly he's dropped and everything around him is like monochrome and hazy. So some weird power stuff going on. So there's two heroes there, Mirrodin and Armsmaster. They don't name Armsmaster, but we know it's him because he has his halberd. So they briefly discuss Goris's power, and Mirrodin coins it as damage retribution. And Armsmaster is like, "Oh, you mean damage reflection?" So Goris asks why they are hunting them, and in response,
Well,
Armsmaster
reflection, I
sets her
think the
on
reason he
fire.
clarifies is because there could easily
A
be a
couple
power
different
where
things.
it's like you stab my hand, your hand catches on fire. Whereas the damage reflection
Yeah,
is
for
like
sure.
you slice my hand, your hand is sliced. And I did think to
Yeah,
myself
or
also,
damage.
it's like good that Kraus attacked Agesa and not Gueris, because like let's just say he does punch through
He had
her like thick
stabbed
skin or
her.
whatever, and he's like stabbed her
Hmm.
in the neck, and now he's got a stab wound on his neck.
Yeah, he would not have lived through the injuries that he gave to Igasa. But
Yeah.
luckily, Igasa's like a changer or something,
I think
so
like
he'll be fine
teleporter and like
probably.
just stuck as like a weird like beetle which has like four like inward facing blade arms that he's supposed to like
Mm,
scoop people because he can teleport right
hmm.
behind somebody and just scoop them to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah. So yeah, Gwaris is like, "Please stop hunting us," and then Armsmaster sets her on fire. Typical Armsmaster. Um, Kraus tries to talk to the heroes, but they are not listening to him. Mirrodin chews out
What's
Armsmaster for
funnier if
being
they just ignore
reckless.
him for being a
It
civilian?
literally
I'm not
like
listening to him.
when I was first reading this, I was like, typical Armsmaster. Fucking won't talk to a civilian.
He's actually
Um,
pretty. I mean,
but
it's so funny because he thinks he's terrible with everything, but it seems like he actually is good on the PR front. Like, people think
no, I
he's kind
do
of
think
awesome,
so.
like, publicly. And it's just so
Yeah.
funny that, like, internally, Armsmaster's like, I'm terrible with people. I'm such a fucking loser. But then everyone's like,
Yeah. And
man, he was kind of hot, too.
honestly, his peers are like that. Like as soon as you get to know him, you're like that. But like on the outside, like nobody's like, "Oh my gosh, Armsmaster is so awkward and terrible." Like and like even in this, like Armsmaster sets this lady on fire. Clearly, he wouldn't have just normally done that, and he did it because of the Seamark situation, right? Like she brought these people
I don't think he would
specifically.
normally kill a villain.
No, I
Like
don't
straight
think
up,
so.
I
It
think
was like
unless they had a kill order, unless they were like Slaughterhouse Nine caliber, I don't
unless
think
it
that he
puts
would
him
kill
at a
most
great
villains.
advantage.
Yeah.
I have a quote here.
Mm-hmm. Two most likely vectors for it, the armored man said, talking as though he couldn't hear Kraus. Ha! He raised his voice a little to be heard over Guaris's screams. Either she needed to see me, or there needed to be some correlation between me and the damage done. Smoke plus a non-lethal bullet works as a test for the first case. Besides, priority one is minimizing interactions, right? There's a lot of
This
screaming in
is a
this room.
terrible. This is a terrible explanation. So why he set her on fire before, right after he said it was damage retribution. So
Well, I think
Kraus
it's. I think
tries
part
to.
of this is to show us that, like, even before he has his computer system or whatever, like, Arms Master is so powers brained that he can like defeat
Mhm,
people who, because tinkering is good once you have all your
mhm,
shit, but you're still just a guy or
mhm.
whatever.
Yeah, you're just still some guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cross tries to talk to them again, but is again ignored. And Armsmaster calms Dragon and tells her that Mirrodin shunted Kraus and that he'll need emergency services when he pops back into the universe. And Dragon's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
And Arms and Armsmaster doesn't argue with her because it's Dragon. So um
That's
and
my
she's like,
girlfriend. I know we're
well,
not going out yet, but I can't argue with her because she's my girl.
because she's my girlfriend. Um, so Dragon's like, well, if it's not severe, then I'm not sending anyone, and she preps them to head out. So she says the fight is going well, but that they're going to have to double down on quarantine, and they're going to be pushing the DDID measure.
Mm-hmm.
And Mirrodin's like, all that's going to backfire. That's a terrible idea. And Dragon's
Fuck the
like, you're right.
DDID, idiots. Yeah.
And Dragon agrees, and then Mirrodin gets angry at Dragon for not taking a stand. And Armsmaster's like, "That's my girlfriend. Back off."
Well,
And it's like,
it's so funny with like the way they interact. I was thinking to myself at this point, I wish Armsmaster had spoken up mid conversation and been like, you know what, Dragon, you've got all the best parts of the Madonna and the whore, actually.
you're actually the epitome of womanhood. Uh, he's so stupid. And like, okay, this conversation is like, obviously for us, this is like some dramatic irony because we're seeing Dragon in yet another situation where she's like, they're like, you should stop just going along with everything they tell you to. And she's like, well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah. She
Uh, it's
has
very
to.
sad.
And you know what? It's just another easy example of like her creator was so short-sighted, like so incredibly stupidly short-sighted. How could you
Yeah.
look at the state of the
That even
world in
yeah, even when she has
2008 or
data.
whatever, or like let's just say it's the year 2000. I forget exactly when it happens, but it's sometime between 20 and 2010. Um,
Mhm.
and if we like all these like bad governments exist around the world, like concurrent with that. Like he should be able to
Mhm.
point at like minimum 10 governments and be like, well, I wouldn't want her following the laws there.
It's because he's Canadian that he was so short-sighted.
His
He's like, our
Canadian
government's so
privilege.
nice.
He's been
Yeah, for
propagandized
real.
into thinking that if stuff's legal, it's good, and if it's illegal, it's bad.
Yeah, I think that he like wanted like a simple solution on like how to get her to follow like morals, and so that's the solution he came up with.
Yeah,
Maybe
to
should have
flog a
thought it
hard
through a
dog.
little bit more. Because like I know like obviously we have issues like implementing morals in AI now, like with like assistive driving and stuff, like deciding deciding whom to kill,
Also,
that
the
kind of thing.
current
That
AIs seem to just decide to kill at random. Um, well,
yeah, it seems pretty random to me. Like they sometimes will kill the person in the car and sometimes kill the person outside the car.
Well, I mean, I
Just
saw on the on one of those live tests, the brakes went off as it was like the brakes started as it was hitting the dummy that represented the child. So it fully at full
uh,
speed plowed into the child and then began braking at that point.
so probably
So
did not not good.
it like the
But
dummy was scattered and like splattered to pieces.
oh. So at least Dragon doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just and he put restrictions on her. It sucks, and it like obviously is like painful for her to be like, "You're right, I agree with you,
And the
but I
fact that
can't
yeah,
do
she
what
also
the data
can't
supports."
she can't explain to
She
him
can't
that
tell
she
him.
has to. And it's like the
Yeah.
worst of
I mean,
both
she
worlds,
says,
really.
"Oh, I have to follow orders," but like that means something totally different, like when you actually understand the context.
Yeah, because if you just say that as like a normal person, then it's just like, okay, so you're just not going to stand up to them. That's what you're telling me.
Hmm. Yeah, and she's like, "Right." So
Technically
Armsmaster
correct.
changes topics, and he points out a section of a building
Hmm.
that had been transported there. It's got like a dead scientist. We know that it's Cauldron because it has the white floors and the white walls, and no other place has those things. And it's got like scattered file folders all over. And Armsmaster's like, man, I wish we could stay here and look at this. And Mirrodin chastises him again. It's kind of really funny.
Mirren's like,
And he
bro,
keeps
this is
like
the exact thing we're not supposed to do. Are you kidding me?
he keeps chewing him out for stuff. So Armsman asks Mirrodin if he can put him in a pocket dimension, or sorry, if he can put the like slice of building into the pocket dimension, and he's like, nah, that'll have a bad interaction because it just also got transported from another dimension, so it's gonna go all fucky wucky. And if I was Kraus, I would have shit myself after he said that because I would have been so scared that I wouldn't be able to get out.
I guess
um,
I never thought maybe this is like the Kraus like maybe it's some like amount of like I already know like in a way what's going to happen forward because like I don't know the beat for beat, but I know that Kraus is going to be
mhm,
in the story a year later or whatever, year and a half.
mhm.
Um, but I never thought to myself even for a moment like, oh no, what's going to happen because of the bad interaction. I just thought like it just didn't occur to me. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think normally when he puts him in the pocket dimension, he wouldn't be
Conscious.
like in the ether.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
he wouldn't
difference
have
would
like
be
been.
that he'd be like out. He'd be like stasis out of phase for however long.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that he would be like walking around and stuff. So like that, and that's what Kraus takes it as too. He's like, "Oh, that must be like why I'm here and they can't hear me." So the heroes clear out and Kraus is hit with another flashback. Um so this is Noelle breaking up with him like we talked about
Wait,
earlier.
this picture is him getting
Uh
broken up with.
oh no. This picture is him waiting for her to make eye contact with him and say that she's not happy.
This picture is him realizing that Skitter's had all the bugs all over herself, and there's been no like costume covering the difference. He's like, "Oh God, just the bugs right on you."
The bugs are all over you. So she goes for a classic, It's Not You, It's Me. But like this is like
But it
genuinely
really
the
is.
case. It like that's like it's depicting exactly what she means to depict. And she tells him that he's been great. And Kraus says he thought that they were doing fine. And Noelle's like, we have not actually. And she says that they're not moving forward like in their relationship and it's not fair to him. And he's like, I know that there's stuff going on and I'm not gonna pry. And then he says he doesn't care that things aren't exactly fair, and Noelle tells him to shut the fuck up. And then I
I
pulled a
know that
quote
he's
here.
trying to not pry for like more or less noble reasons,
He's making it way worse.
but like
Because
if he asked somebody, if he pried, if he asked Marissa and she told him, if he asked Noelle and she was honest with him, like a lot of their problems would just instantly be gone.
yeah, and I feel like up until now, like the implication is almost like some like sexual trauma. It's like almost like a twist, I guess, like the reveal. You know what I mean? Because of
Hmm.
how like he's like, oh, it's she's not modest, she's damaged, and this and that. And I wonder if like that's what he thinks that it is, and like that's
Oh
because that would
man,
make
I bet he
more.
does think
And that
that.
would make more sense. And that would make more sense to why he would say, I know that there's something, but I'm not going to ask you about it. Because, like, I think that that's like more appropriate with that kind of situation. But like the fact is, what he's doing is like totally like neglecting to acknowledge her mental health issues,
Right.
which is so different than being like, I know something happened to you and I'm not going to ask about it because that's I think that's how it comes off. I think that's what he thinks at this point. I can't imagine what else he would think
Well,
because
but the thing is,
I
like,
don't
I
I
feel like there
don't
can
think that
just
he
be a
knows.
question mark where he doesn't have where it's like so unfathomable that he doesn't have an idea. Like, frankly, I said this before, like, for whatever reason, I couldn't like catch and identify what was going on, like what her deal was. So
Yeah.
it
I mean, I think Wildbow does such a good job with it that it's like so underlying, and but then when you go back, there's like all these details there, you know what I
like
mean?
the obviousness
Um
of it once you already know, like it is that sort of like is it still dramatic irony when it's like you go, what is it called when you're going back and like it changes the context of a previous scene?
I don't know. I feel like I would call that dramatic irony, but it's less of like intended dramatic irony, I guess, because it's not like built in. But it is like and the other reason that I think that he doesn't know is because of the lack of focus on it. Like I feel like he would be like obviously he notices when Marissa is like going and like getting her donuts and bringing her pizza and stuff, but like he's not thinking anything about it.
I gotta say, as someone with the eating problems, um when Marissa hands Noelle that donut and she rolls her eyes, that is like the most relatable moment for me because it's just like the amount of times that people have put in my hands something that I 100% sure will not eat is it's just ludicrous how many times that's happened in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know like what the best move for Marissa would be, but like I don't know.
I get why she's doing that instead of berating her or pestering her into like whatever. Like she's trying to do it in the best way she can, but
And
I
she's
don't think people
instilling like
realize how like negative of an interaction that can be.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little different because it's like, I mean, just because like I feel like your problems are a little bit like outside the realm of like a traditional um like Anna bulimia eating disorder kind of thing.
It's like
Um
what was that thing you were talking about? The controlled eating, like that the weird. It's like the like
that's orthorexic.
subconscious. I don't even know how to describe it exactly, but when you said it, it made so much sense. About like
That
yeah, it being a weird control issue.
yeah, the thing is, well, that would be orthorexia if it is a if there's not exactly like an intention of like trying to hit under I know a lot about eating disorders, so if anybody has questions, I can talk about it. But you're not trying to exactly like malnourish yourself to some degree, but it has like a really intense control factor. You can think of like a gym bro kind of situation, or
Right,
maybe like our
except
boss.
unhelpfully, the only
um,
things I can get myself to eat usually are kind of on the like less healthy spectrum. Like that's why I try and like
yeah,
add
so
in like vegetables just like whenever possible.
yeah, so like the eating disorder spectrum is like I feel like there's a lot of variety, and I would encase something more like extreme picky eating. I would kind of put those in a different category than things like anorexia and bulimia and orthorexia because those are a lot more focused like the basis of it is a lot more on the body rather than coming from the food.
Right, and
And
I
then
have enough weird
um
body dysmorphia that like I don't think about how food will interact with my body. Like it's just
mhm.
like
And-
beyond the scope of the way I think, I guess.
yeah, and even in my like scale and understanding of things, I would categorize like binge eating and food addiction closer to those other issues that I even would like the kind of food issues that you have. I feel
Mhm.
like honestly, I think that the data is that 1/4 of people in their lifetime will experience an eating disorder. And I would say probably maybe even higher than that. Like the stats are high.
Yeah.
Lots of people are having issues. And it like goes, it's like all over the spectrum. And so yeah, all that is to say that, man, where did we start with this?
That
That,
Noelle's a good character, Wildbow's a good writer.
oh, and Noah's a good character. Wildbow's a good writer. I never want to like go out and like accuse things of authors, but honestly, when I first started reading Worm, even before I got to here, I was like, I think that Wildbow has experience an eating disorder before, and this to me was kind of confirmation of that because he is so keyed into all of it with Noelle in a way that's like astounding. And maybe it could be that he was like close to somebody who had like suffered from an extreme eating disorder. But the way that Taylor talks about food is extremely healthy in the way that only somebody who had like gone through intense recovery would be able to describe,
Well, yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
I mean, and that makes sense.
And you can,
Like, it's not something I would have picked up on, but the fact that, like,
mhm,
once you've pointed it out, it's much more clear to me. And
mhm.
the
And I
difference
feel similarly
between
with
his characters.
Victoria's depiction of food.
Well, I was gonna say, like, Victoria, like, the way she interacts with food, especially near the end of Ward, is, like,
Hmm.
spot on, like, my exact kind of problems, where it's like,
Uh-huh.
it has things can be off in the smallest of ways and then it can be a problem.
Hmm.
Like, I wish I could just have like staple foods that I could always eat, but even the most staple food, like my brain can find a way to be like, no, you're not eating this right now.
Yeah.
Don't even try putting
Yeah.
it in your mouth because you'll chew it and you'll feel like throwing up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that because I haven't gotten to that part, but like when like that was my original thought before I even got to any of the Noel stuff because of how Taylor talks about it, and then in like contrast of like the couple of scenes where Lisa like is talking about food and she's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna get fat" or whatever, and Taylor's like, okay."
Yeah, Taylor's like, this
And
is
then
gonna
like
fuck up my skin. I'm gonna get acne, but
yeah, she's like, she's like trying to participate. It's like the scene in Mean Girls where they're all like negging on themselves. They're like, oh my God, my cuticles are so nasty. Oh, my skin is terrible. And they all turn to Caddy or Katie, yeah. And she's like, sometimes when I wake up, I have bad breath. And they're like, okay,
yeah,
it's so funny.
yeah, what was I thinking? There was uh the way that Taylor interacts in that scene is something that I am used to, which is just like other people talking about like, oh, this food's gonna make me blow up, and I'm usually just like silent because I'm like, I know that no one in the world wants to hear the fact that I can eat unlimited food and gain no.
Yeah, no one wants to hear it.
Nobody
Taylor
wants
was
to.
not smart enough though. She still said it. And I go, I roll, Taylor. Nobody wants to hear it.
Nobody asked.
Um, yeah, but that's just I think we were talking about that's what we had started with how hard it was to pick up like from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like what was going on. So I just think that like I feel like you gotta be like insane and like super keyed into noticing those kinds of things to pick up on it. Like if your brain works in the way that Noelle's brain works, you will notice it, and otherwise you probably won't. So like I don't blame you for not noticing, and I also definitely don't blame Kraus for not noticing. But it makes me so angry this scene where he's like, because I just kind of feel like I feel like she's like begging for him to like understand what's going on, but she like is not brave enough to just like initiate that.
Well, he's also
And
not brave enough,
keeps
so
he keeps telling her, I don't want you to tell me. And it's like making
that's
it
that's
so
the
much
really bad
worse.
part. Yeah. It should be more
And
like
it's
you shouldn't feel like you have to tell me, but you can tell me anything.
yeah, and but he keeps saying you shouldn't feel like you have to tell me, and I'm not gonna ask. But he needs to. But it's just like I feel like sometimes people will like be dropping hints about something to me, and like usually my reaction is, do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, yeah.
When people are dropping hints, because usually I'll ignore it like for hint number one, and then by hint number two I'll be like, I'll like engage a little bit, and then by hint number 3, I'll just straight up be like, Okay, let's talk about this. Do you want to share with the class?"
But I
Um,
also think that you have a lot more like current social courage than you did at the age when this conversation was happening between these two. You know what I mean?
That's true, but I also have done I feel like I've kind of been doing that since I was a teenager too. I would
Mm.
definitely get annoyed, a little bit irritated when people are like dropping hints, and then I'm like, well, then just tell me. And I would be a lot more aggressive. I'd be like, can you just tell me what's going on?
Jeez.
Which is not the way to go.
Yeah, yeah.
I was as meek as I was also way more aggro all the time.
Dude, when I first met you, you were being a real shit.
Yeah. I love being aggro. I'm sorry. I was doing a cross. Irritating people for fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, Speaking of being a shithead Kraus, can you read this quote here?
Indeed. I was trying to not jump into my crispy voice, but I'll do normal voice. It's like
Okay.
karma for all the times I've pulled shit on others. Only I did it in fun, and this isn't fun in the slightest.
Like, I'm glad you had fun with that, Jesus. Like, obviously he knows he's doing bad things, because he says that, and that's, I don't know, it's kind of like I feel like it's more dated to say that he does stuff to be annoying to like cover something else up. Um, so
But I
Noel
also feel
says,
like I know so many people who are like the sort of class clown type who like maybe there was some deep underlying reason, but really there just is a surface level of like it's kind of funny to be mean to people.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's not like nice, but we're mean to Oliver and call him even when we're being
that's
nice, we're still
true.
mean to Oliver.
That's true. I'm really mean to Quinn
Dude, you're so
just
mean
for
to Quinn and
fun.
he's a real person.
Yeah, he's a real person. He's also really mean to me. The other
He's
day,
so
it
fucking
was
mean
like
to you.
it was like 4 in the morning. I'm gonna tell you what he's. I'm gonna derail because this was important to me.
Yes.
I woke up. I woke up to some messages
Uh,
and I had a reaction. I was like, I don't know what I did, but Quinn hates me now. Okay, he sent me a bunch of flipping off emojis. Okay, and then like hours later, this is what he sends me. Ever since I met you, I had always wondered why you looked so familiar, but I think I finally nailed it down. You look strikingly similar to a cricket that I used to live with. The antennas, especially, are similar between you two. And
bro!
I was like literally enraged.
Some of the shit he says to you is amazing. Oh,
I was,
I'm
and
sorry.
I,
I'm
it was
sorry that
like,
I laugh at it so much, but it's really funny to me.
no, I wouldn't have been so upset, but I had like just woken up. And so, like, I like wake up really angry. And so I like thought this was way more antagonistic than it like clearly was. And so I was like, what the fuck? And I like asked Kaiser, I was like, Kaiser, did you say something to Quinn? Like, he's sending me mean ass messages. Like, I didn't even do anything. And then I texted
Oh
him and I
god.
was like, what the fuck, dude? And he was like, sorry, I just thought you looked similar. And I was like, oh, like clearly he's joking. What's wrong with me?
You know, I was once favorably compared to a moth in a text message when someone was
Mhm.
saying how they were in love with me.
Aw, you do kind of give moth vibes.
Oh, thank you.
So anyways, back to being mean to your friends. Noelle said, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? And Kraus shockingly is surprised Noelle doesn't have a good relationship with yourself. He's like, whoa, what do you mean? You don't love yourself?
That's
And she's like,
crazy.
"What the hell?" And that's the other thing that makes me think that he thinks maybe that it like was a trauma situation, like a sexual trauma situation. Because like, what are you talking about? Um,
Yeah.
I don't
It's
yeah, I
like
think that's
that is like she clearly has a terrible internal like everything. She's like
Mm-hmm.
upset about the fact that she can't articulate herself. She's
Yeah,
upset about her
she like
problems and the fact that she can't get over them. Like, I don't know. That part was definitely obvious to me.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what he's talking about. So Kraus says he hasn't seen anything that scared him away yet, and Noelle bluntly says that she does not think they should date. And that's when he should have stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So Kraus says he'll agree if she can look him in the eyes and say it, because he thinks that she's been happier than ever since they started dating. And Kraus says that it's just a bad day, and he needs her to tell him that she's actually that she agrees that she's worse off with him, and then he will drop it. And Noelle is like, anyways, never mind, let's just forget it. And Kraus, um, and Kraus is like, great. I'm so happy that we're together. And internally, he says that this was like the worst thing that's ever happened to him, basically. Um, So he returns to the present, and he from being dropped out of the pocket dimension, and so he's hearing the Seamerk song again. And now that he's been newly impassioned to save Noelle, he starts going through the piece of lab that had been teleported there. And he's looking for like a first aid kit or something he can use. But instead, all he finds are like empty test tubes, paperwork, and like a
All I
metal
found was
briefcase
these
full of
useless
superpowers.
superpowers.
All I found was these useless superpowers in a bottle. So that's crazy. Anyways, that's the chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good couple of chapters. I do really like the flashback stuff, because I feel like it is giving us like some much needed context. It's like the first flashback, it like tips things more into Krause's favor, and then like the second one like kind of tips them away, I feel like.
I think they're both like
Enlightening.
they're enlightening. I don't think either one of them puts Kraus in a terrible light to me. Like, I
Mm-mm.
obviously don't think he should have acted like he did, but it's
Yeah.
just like we
I just
discussed
can
earlier. I can't. It's so
yeah.
hard to blame him for this because like he's just fucking. He just doesn't know, you know.
I just can totally envision myself doing like making the same decisions, like having this same conversation on literally both of their sides. Like Krause and Noel to me are like incredibly relatable, not only as individuals but like as a couple, and like dealing with the issues that they're going through. um I don't know. They're just like so there's like so much of them like reflected in myself and in my life. It's like disturbing. Which
I
is why I
am
like took
glad that
so
you
long.
have improved many aspects of your life
Yeah,
in the last few years.
yeah. I mean, I don't know like if we had mentioned this before, but to everyone else, to anyone listening, I like am did not talk about any of this arc with William at all, because I was like, I can't. It
Yeah,
is too much. I can't deal with it. It's very upsetting. But yeah, I'm definitely
but
like
now you
in
can.
in a I'm in a much more Jess place than I've been before, okay? It's
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah, it is great. Um,
Yeah, but these chapters were really good.
hmm I I feel like this whole arc is like really solid. The next chapter has some of my favorite stuff and is like crazy long. But
Mhm.
every chapter
Good
in
to
this arc
know.
is good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking at the timestamps. I think the next one, and it's still just read by Crispy, so it's the same exact like sort of length per word count or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
it's 50 minutes, and the last ones have been half an hour each.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, I'll be prepared for that. Because these were like, even like these chapters have to me been feeling really long.
They're really
Like even
dense. Like
those
I think
not,
more happens in
yeah,
these than in the standard chapters of like the book up to now. Like I think that the book just
yeah,
gets denser and denser, and he took the opportunity of the arc where it's a different person to step it up. I don't know if it was an intentional thing. It's just like it happened. So
Yeah. Um, let's talk about Kraus. Kraus is going through it this chapter. You can definitely feel the escalation in his like anger and antagonisticness. I feel like not even his external antagonism, but his internal, like it's definitely flared up. Like the way he's thinking about Oliver. It's mostly about Oliver this chapter and a little bit of Cody, but the way he's thinking about Oliver and Cody this chapter is pretty extreme, especially when it comes to Oliver for the offenses that he's been doing.
he's so mean
Um,
to Oliver, but I literally like one of my biggest regrets, like in my like something I wish I could go back and change that I've done is like kind of be mean to a person who is like Oliver-ish, but like really wanting to be part of the group. And I'm just like, why did I do that? Like, why? Just because he annoyed me? Like, why was I so terrible? And I didn't even like do that much. But you know, when you're mean to somebody, sometimes in the future you'll be like,
Sometimes you
oh
think
my
about
god,
it.
what the fuck?
I get it. I'm like,
He was like a Colin Creevy like figure in that he was literally younger and
oh,
looked up to me, and I kind of just was like a little dismissive, and I just fucking wish I had been nicer because like he was a good-hearted like kind of
yeah.
like dweeby kid, you know.
Yeah, that's too bad. I get it. When I was in elementary school. See, I wasn't bullying any Colin Creevies, but I did accidentally like start a rumor that two girls were gay. I didn't even know what like gayness was. So
And you were the gayest of
I
them
didn't know.
all.
I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was like, oh my God. And
Uh,
then like the fucking way that they looked at me, I like immediately was like, oh no. Oh, I felt so bad. But um yeah, so like I get why Kraus is being annoyed. And I'm glad he's not doing anything mean exactly to Oliver. I'm trying to think if he did. Like
I
the
think
only
he
thing
actually
was
does. He's like pretty like he snaps at him in his mind, which is fine.
yeah, he's like doing actually as Cody has said, he has self-control. He's doing a good job at like keeping the emotions at bay. I think it's like because Kraus is like a naturally well, I don't want to say that Cody's not naturally mean, but Cody's not exactly a mean person. Cody's like got other things going on, but because like
Kraus
Kraus is
thinks about
naturally a
other people
mean
constantly.
yeah, because Kraus is always thinking mean things about other people, I think it's probably easier for him to keep it inside. But I think that Cody only thinks mean things about Kraus. And so
Yeah,
like
I didn't think about that, but
and
you
he's
might be
like
right.
yeah, and he's kind of used to just like saying them to him, it seems like, because they've been like kind of like batting at each other for a while now. And so like he's like not used to just like keeping these things inside, and so he's fucking letting them get all over the place and being like, actually I asked Noel first, I asked Noel out first, and so that means that da, 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 da,
Do
da.
you
I don't even know
consider
what
that
his point
I
is.
asked Noelle first?
Did you
Had you thought of that?
and then like his first conversation where Cody, we can just talk about Cody, but when Cody's like trying to fucking when he's like when he's like, I want to be your enemy, but we can't afford to be. Like, I don't know what. I think that he was like
What does he
trying
think
to like
enemies
make a
are?
pact. I think he was maybe trying to make a pact with Kraus in that moment, but then like because Kraus blows him off, he's like he just doesn't do it. I'm not exactly sure what his intention with these conversations were.
Well, I agree with you that there's definitely like an obvious route that Kraus could have taken to get a better result, like kind of try to play ball with Cody a little bit, but like
Hmm.
he doesn't. He's
It
not
like
going
also
to.
was yeah, it's like just not a priority. Um, both because it's irrelevant and also because it doesn't help anything with their situation and with Noel's situation. Um, I don't know, dude. It's Cody really pops off this chapter. And then like going with him, it's like why did he go with him to go um like to go seek medical help? Is it like because he's actually a good friend? He like wants to get help for Noelle and stuff? Or is he having like the same issue that he projects? Because like his idea that Kraus is like trying to act all macho for Noelle because of Cody challenging him is like so bullshit that maybe that's a little bit how he feels. Like he's like feeling emasculated by Kraus because it's like I mean, they don't go into too much of like what Cody looks like, but I kind of like he's kind of like more Chad uh than Kraus for sure.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean, I'm
like
going to be representing him with a loose interpretation of Will Poulter.
yeah, yeah, so he's like, he like got usurped by a little like wimp boy and he like the wimp boy doesn't give a shit about him. So like maybe part of it is that
Maybe that's how he
he's
sees it,
doing that
yeah.
very thing
I was going to say, I,
that
I think
he's
of Cody and Kraus as being, like, similar builds. Like
okay.
both, like Luke's like a bigger guy, but I thought both of them are kind of, like, wiry, um...
I I think that Cody is bigger than Kraus because he and Luke are the people who carry the people at first until Luke gets injured.
Maybe he is, yeah.
So like, yeah, because if if it could, oh, that's what he says. He says that specifically. Does he have Cody carrying Noelle? I think he
I think
has
that is
Cody
true.
carrying Noelle at first.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so he specifically lets him do it because he knows he's more capable than him at it.
Yeah, let's see here. Carry.
So,
Cody stood by carrying Jess. Like Kraus, he was waiting for the others. Okay, so I guess Cody was carrying Jess. Maybe I had just misremembered the scene.
maybe they swapped. I
Luke
think
was
they
in
swapped
front
them
carrying
around.
Noelle. That's what it was. So Luke had Noelle.
Oh, okay.
Um, he has
And
Jess,
then
and
Cody
then
was had Jess.
yeah.
And then they swap out when Luke gets injured. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Cody. He's crazy.
Oh yeah, it was Kraus that carried Noelle. I don't know why I thought it wasn't.
Yeah, they do some swapping. It gets confusing. Do you have anything else to say about Cody?
No, I think his greatest hits are the next two chapters. So
Yeah, yeah. We'll be seeing Cody art those chapters, right? It's exciting.
yes, we'll see Cody on the next chapter, and then let me double check. I think Marissa was going to be for number 6. Luke sort of falls on 7 by accident because there's nowhere to put him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Cody's definitely next chapter. Then Marissa's the one after that. So they're both next week. I'm gonna need to figure out
Nice.
what to do for Marissa's face because I was thinking maybe something like Lily Reinhardt or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I was thinking about that too because they don't, as much as they talk about how beautiful Marissa is, they don't describe her face in very much detail because it's like I think she's just like majestic all over, so they're never like pointing anything specific out. Um, yeah, we'll have to think of that. One more notable thing is that Cody does seem a little bit disturbed at Kraus going and stabbing those monsters. Maybe he is disturbed about it as the same reason Marissa is because of the violence and ruthlessness of it. But maybe he's a little bit scared of Kraus.
Like the thing is, I always maybe this is just because we're in Krause's head, but I always got the vibe that he could win a fight if he had a fight with Cody, like just straight up.
I think so because he's so crazy.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah. Do we want to talk about Oliver?
We've talked about Oliver a lot. I took out his famous line, his greatest line in the whole book. They're shooting at us.
I don't know. He had so many hits this chapter. He has the she's modest and the I'm scared.
Oh man.
They're always like clipped lines and they like make everybody like stare at Oliver like what?
Yeah. You know what? I guess
Oh,
Luke
I
does
just
get a lot of play in 17.7 because he has like all the conversations where he's disappointed in Kraus.
oh my God.
And then they drive off in
Don't
the
remind
cars.
me.
Don't
Yeah.
remind me.
Marissa is doing her normal Marissa thing where she's brave but also scared of everything. So she does opt to go out with
Is
them.
this why you thought she
Um,
was a beta at first? Even when you read the whole book, you were still calling her a beta.
she's a beta. She's a beta outside of this arc, okay?
Okay.
Um, she becomes a beta, but but Marissa's cool. Okay, I'm pro Marissa now.
Mm-hmm.
I changed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's controversial to do these
Is
days.
this gonna be like when you kind of changed your mind about Kid Win for a second, then you went back to hating on him?
Yeah, yeah. Because Kid Win is only like redeemable from his own perspective. Because the
So
next time,
harsh.
like I'm
So
pretty sure
harsh. Jeez.
the next time we see him is like I mean, we were like, oh, Kid Win's on the up and up. And then he lost a bunch more battles. And we kept being like, maybe next time. And then he failed again. Epic failed because he like teleports in a device and then it like seemingly blows up, which like that's not actually what happened, but that's what it looks like. So still epic fail, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then and then he's gonna go to therapy and he's going to do the classic teenage bullshit of actually I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He like needs therapy so bad because he's I don't know.
I know
Anyways,
you hate
so
him for that,
listen,
but I'm like, that's his like ultimate Chad moment for me.
to me, like Miss Yamada is such a good therapist, and how could he do that to her? And like I know he
How
doesn't know
could
her
you
yet,
do this to
but
me?
he doesn't give her a chance. He doesn't give her any chance. But anyways, I had changed my mind on Marissa. I will probably change my mind back in the next chapters when we see her being a beta again. But maybe she'll surprise me. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
And
oh, I was trying to
she's
figure it
obviously
out. I was
mortified
like,
at
who's the guy that Kid Win kills later? And it's Tyrant. He kills Tyrant by sniping
mm,
him through the wall of a building or whatever. Or maybe,
hmm.
actually, you know what? I don't even think he can take credit for that kill. I think that
Oh my
it ends
God.
up
He
being,
doesn't do anything.
yeah, he doesn't do anything. No, it ends up being Foil, not Kid Win.
Mm,
What a
wow.
mistake on my memory of this. What a mistake.
Dude, we keep thinking that he's gonna like get it together and he literally never does.
Um,
Let's
Jess
talk
is time
about
to shine.
Jess is keeping secrets from everyone. Um, so she kept the secret that they were actually on Earth Bet
I don't. I'm
and
not okay. So I'm not opposed to her keeping this secret. I just think that the actual moment to moment interactions she's having are so shady and weird that like,
she's being way too shady. She keeps being like, we shouldn't talk about it right now.
yeah. Um,
And then Luke is like, "Why were you guys whispering?" And then they're like, "We can't talk about it right now. Like it's best to keep everyone calm." Like just like literally says something along those lines. And it's like I could not stand for that. I would have flipped out like at that point. I'd be like, "Can you please like you're making me so much more stressed actually like actively keeping a secret like that. She should have lied better." Um but like I know she's going through a lot because she has like all this information that they do not have. And so she had kept the secret that they are on Earth Bet, and convinces Kraus to keep it with her, but he suspects that she is keeping information about the actual effects of the sea merg from them because he doesn't think it makes sense, like the precautions that they've taken with what she's explained, which is true.
He
It
was
doesn't make any
right.
sense. And he was right. He's pretty good at thinking about Cape stuff all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's it for Jess. I don't think she really did anything this chapter except make him go get them water.
Yeah. It's pretty normal stuff. Luke.
Luke is a perv. He wants to look at Noelle naked.
Definitely what happened in that chapter.
That's what
Oh wait.
happened. He said, "I'm not putting the sheet on my head. I'm gonna keep my eyes wide open." Is what he said. And then, it makes sense why Kraus got so mad at him. Definitely.
Oh yeah, because of him saying that heinous stuff.
He's terrible. He's such a weird perv. But he puts the sheet on his head. That's the only thing he does this chapter.
Gotcha. Then, you know what? And I'm glad that I didn't try and shoehorn him into being the art on another chapter, since me looking just
You have a
earlier, it
good
was like,
one.
oh, it actually does fit this one.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
And then Noelle. She's not awake.
Noelle has problems. Noelle is super unconscious. She's going through severe internal bleeding. Noelle of the past likes Kraus seemingly more than I had remembered. Like she does seem like actively interested in him, which is great to hear because I can only have so many problematic faves until people start calling me sus.
Well, people start to get worried when because it's like, I introduce it with like, oh yeah, she really likes Alec, and then they're like, that's weird, and then I'm like, and Kraus too, and they're like, okay, not as bad, but still weird. And then I'm like,
Amy.
and Amy's her top one. She wishes she could make out with Amy and be Amy making out with Taylor, and then they're like, oh no, ah.
Man, I love Amy and Taylor together. I don't know. I'm sorry. I hate evil. I love evil people. I mean, listen, they're all evil in such a variety of ways. And like you said, like Kraus is so uncomparable to someone like Alec.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's like a crazy it's like a crazy comparison that you would even say because Alec
People
is just
hate Trickster. They hate him so bad. And
they hate him because I feel
think
like they hate him
know
because Taylor hates them.
Well, I think one, they hate him because Taylor hates him, and two, they hate him because they know someone like him and they're not won over by Arc 17. Like that's
okay.
it. Because like I know someone who to me like was just Kraus as a teen, and guess what? He was fun when he was like on your side and things, but when he was like being a shit, boy, did he have the magical power to be the worst shit.
Yeah. Greg says a significant portion of the fan base is into Taylor x Amy, one of the most popular ships.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, same.
But I do now. And also, clearly, it's a pretty popular ship in this community too.
It's literally number one ship. I just think it would be so good. And then Vale said back from dinner and an episode of Andor. Awesome.
Nice.
Welcome back.
How far in are you? Just to gauge.
Yeah.
And while you're answering that, we will continue talking about Noelle. She doesn't really do anything
Noelle.
in these chapters. I guess we get a lot from her in the flashbacks.
She's in the flashbacks.
In the flashbacks,
but
it's important.
It's like, I feel like there's nothing that we really learn except that like her like insecurity I feel like is smoothed out a little bit. Like when we like interact with her in the cafe, like things seem pretty kosher. But who knows what's actually going on because Kraus does say like that day she's breaking up with him, like I have a feeling like today is a bad day or something, like whatever. Yeah, so I feel like the only thing we really learn new is that she had like explicitly tried to break up with him and also that like she was like from the get-go kind of interested in him.
Yeah. I think we can move on from Noelle for now. We'll definitely talk about her like
Yeah.
a lot in the next 2 weeks. So,
Vale says right about episode 8 for Andor.
I'm assuming you mean either that you got up to episode 8 or that you completed 8, but either way, good job.
Good job.
Um, Episode 6 is a real banger, I would say. So I'm glad that you've seen that, so we can talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Case 53s, Gueris, Agesa, and Matryoshka, as well as I guess we can mention the one Case 53 who had horns who died at the fence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys are pretty cool. They don't seem to be purposefully going around antagonizing. They seem to be trying to get to safety in a way that uh like more villainy or morally gray people would rather than heroes.
It definitely felt like they were in like a resource gathering phase and they were trying to figure out how they could escape the city. Like they were planning and like strategizing, but they weren't ready
mhm.
for getting like double ambushed.
Yeah, yeah. They seemed pretty okay. Like they like kicked around Kraus a little bit. And like
Like they literally
you can
could
argue
have
they
killed
like
Kraus if they were just like being evil or whatever.
if they just wanted to kill him, yeah.
Because like Gueris didn't have, or Agesa didn't have to wait. When he teleported behind Kraus, he could have immediately killed him, I think.
Yeah, of course. Um, yeah, they definitely could have just like super murdered him. And then Kraus was blacked out for a good amount of time while
Both during the fight and
Agesa
after, yeah.
was, yeah, while he was just holding him down. So it's like he like wasn't gonna kill him. He was like they were gonna utilize him as a resource in some way. Um, and they think that they're being hunted specifically, which it does seem like the heroes are hunting them. And they like don't understand why because they don't understand like what's going on with the sea merg and all
They
that,
also
right?
don't understand what was happening with their captivity. Like that's an additional layer of problem is that they don't even know where
Yeah,
they were before. They just know they're not
yeah,
there anymore.
they were like they were like kidnapped from their home worlds and then put here and then either brainwashed or not brainwashed, but like either way very confusing, and then they got thrown from their building into this random city on a different earth that they like don't recognize the things of, um and then they're like in the middle of a sea merg attack, like this big crazy lady and the glowing fucking guy and whatever, and then Armsmaster and Mirrodin just come and kill them. So I get why they're like, what the fuck is happening? Why are you coming and killing us? And I like
I think
I
I think only
I
Gueras dies.
suspect
I don't know what happens to Agesa, but I don't because Case 53s are like typically much tougher than humans.
mhm.
I would suspect that Agesa was able to survive the big cut and started teleporting away,
Yeah.
and then like Matryoshka will literally be a character again. We're gonna see her later.
Yeah, we see her later. So they're fine, but like they are like going around and killing them.
Yeah,
And and not to maybe I'm not right because Armsmaster is kind of a savage, but if these were not case 53 looking capes and that they looked normal, I don't think they would be just exterminating them like this.
it's true.
This thing.
I don't think that they.
I just can't envision them like
I
just
don't.
fucking setting them on fire.
I agree, but I don't think that they are able to. I don't think they think through what's happening fully.
Yeah,
I
do
think
you
it's
think
very
that they know their
confusing.
case 53s, or do they think
No,
they're just monsters from another universe?
like maybe they know, but they don't talk about it and like
I think that they do know though because they specifically
talk
see the
about
segment
powers.
of building, and then Arms Master is like, "Oh my gosh, this section of the fucking cauldron building building. We need these files.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't call it cauldron specifically, but it seems like he knows what's going on.
Then again, okay, so here's my counter argument. He is equally as ruthless, or if not more, with the when he fights the Slaughterhouse Nine as Defiant. Like, we see he is just able and willing to kill, like, on a moment, and he, like, there's no injury that is too bad for him. There's no, like, things that are off limits. Like, if he is fighting to kill you, he will do anything. So
Yeah. And I'm sure that he's been directed to be killing these the creatures and stuff. I'm not sure exactly who would direct them, but
probably
like
whoever the
with
head of the PRT is would relay orders. Like, I think that they are, like, Dragon is sending communications back to the PRT, and they're getting field orders from that. And maybe,
yeah.
probably the Seamerg's, like, fucking over which ones they're getting or whatever. But she's willing to let them go around murdering the Case 53s.
Yeah. Yeah. Dragon also is a savage this chapter because last couple of chapters we saw her blow up a guy, and then this chapter Arms Master is like, make sure you get somebody out here for healing, and Dragon's like, no.
I'm gonna firebomb that building, actually. It's the opposite.
It's like so funny because she's like, it's like really funny when like Arms Master is more concerned with people's health and safety than Dragon is. And like
Arms
I get
Master's
that
all
she's like,
send the doctor, and she's like, ooh, no, I hit the white phosphorus button by accident.
ooh, accidentally.
Ooh.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get to see Dragon and Arms Master being both good and bad, like always.
Yep.
um
Oh, holy shit. I just
Mirrodin is
realized that, like, I just remembered that in Ward, the first time you see Arms Master, he's killing a damage reflection cape. It works through a different vector,
my gosh.
but he is doing that.
That's so funny. Mirrodin is new to us.
They've talked about Mirrodin as early as Arc 5 because in the
Because he's crazy.
well, he's because Neuter was bragging to those girls in Palanquin that they had fought Chevalier and Mirrodin. Also, I think we saw Mirrodin in Arc 8. Because she talks about how he has a wizard staff and thinks he has magic powers.
Maybe.
But
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's like backgrounded because there's a billion capes in Arc 8.
Yeah, and then he's mentioned again in Amy's chapter. She's like, yeah, those crazy people like Mirrodin. Mirrodin is like, because he's like one of their like really famous and like high up capes, but he is also one that believes in magic, and so that's like obviously like people are gonna talk about that.
I know people are gonna
Because,
talk about that, but he doesn't seem to have like a negative rep. He runs a branch, people seem to think he's cool, and then like
yeah.
you know.
I also I feel like it's implied that he has some visibility over the powers in the same way that Chevalier and Elastic Wenye do. Because
Yeah.
he
They
can
never
like,
say it, but I think he can see people's powers.
yeah, he says about let's go read, unless you have it pulled up, what he says when he's looking at her at the Case 53.
Damage. Okay, so the first, you can say a protective power. I just got a glimpse of the idea behind it, retribution. But see, the problem is that he sees Kraus slash her hand and get his hand slashed. So I'm not 100% if it's just from that. But people with, like, Dimension slash 4D, like these kinds of powers, seem to have better sight because they're closer to the, like, multi-dimensional nature of the powers.
But then when Arms Master clarifies, is it damage reflection or does she get more durable as you attack her? He says it's more likely to be the former. So I think maybe he doesn't see it. So
Mm.
I think it's kind of fair to say that he has some like insight, and maybe only he saw something when when her power like was used, because it like maybe only engages when somebody tries to hurt her.
Mirrodin's a
Um,
character that I kind of wish we got more scenes with because he doesn't get that many total scenes in the book, but he seems
yeah,
pretty cool.
seemed pretty cool. Yeah, it was cool to see him. He chastised Armsman several
He
times.
seems like very
But
like you know how I guess people talk about this like it's like oh the heroes are really corrupt and stuff, and I mean we've discussed it before, but I think they're literally less corrupt than real cops by like a
mhm,
huge margin. And then
a
on top
huge
of
margin,
that,
yeah.
it's also like most of them, whether or not they're like in a corrupt organization, most of them do individually have pretty good morals or whatever in terms of
Mhm,
like I'm thinking of like Clock Blocker, Mirrodin, like even
mhm.
Arms Master, like I mean, he may be
And
like have some problems, but like I do think that he's coming from a good place and like really believes in it. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah, and I think one of the main differences is that the capes on an individual level are empowered to, like, Mirrodin is like, I'm gonna go cause issues about this, and he wants Dragon to join him on that or whatever. And because capes are so invaluable, like, they're not gonna get like what happens if you're causing problems as a policeman or a detective, you will get fired. And so it like automatically sorts out people who will
they'll like
disrupt the
do
status
illegal stuff
quo.
in training so that like that happened. There's a major story about that in Boise, maybe 2018 or something like that, where like
Uh-huh.
these two officers had reported their superior for using an illegal chokehold, seemingly at random, on one of the other like
Hmm.
trainees. And after that, they didn't just get washed out. There was a scandal where they had illegally changed records to lower their grades so that they couldn't become cops elsewhere. Um,
Yeah. And that is like less doable here. Like obviously they could push somebody out if they wanted to,
but they're
but
doing
most
so
of the
much to
time
keep people in.
most of the time they're forced to compromise with the actual wants of the people who work for them. And so like you see that reflected up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's I think that's probably like the main difference, like rather than like something foundational is different, because I feel like all the building blocks are there. Like they are corrupt and they do like have things built in that are bad. Um, but like on an individual level, if somebody acts outside of that, they're usually not going to like face the same kind of consequences that like a police officer would, like going against what their team wants or what the law says or whatever, this and that.
Like we see people acting out like pretty heavily. Like Assault
Hmm.
wanted to do treason against
Yeah,
the
he tried to
PRT,
like
and she
he
walks
tried to
in
get all
and
the
she's like,
teams to like
"You're gonna stay
join.
on the team, fucko, and you're gonna fight alongside these robots."
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
so funny. They are like, yeah, and I don't know. Like obviously, there's like the corruptness that comes with like them needing Arms Master so bad that even though he like does this horrible thing, they like don't tell people about it and then keep him in fake cool prison.
yeah, yeah.
but but I don't know. You win some, you lose some.
I think it's just like for Arms Master, it's not even that they think it's a huge deal per se, the PRT. Like the individual capes, like I think Miss Militia sees it as a big fucking deal. But like
Hmm.
I don't think that they're that concerned about it, and it's just a political move.
Yeah, like the fact that he like could very easily break out all the time, but like he's just like not going to. Um
Well, and the fact that they like know Dragon helped him break out, but they're just like, what can you do?
what can you do? We need resources. Oopsies.
Whoops.
Yeah. Um I only pulled one thing for powers, knowledge, and world building. I did find it relevant. So this is when Kraus is in the like ether kind of like alternate dimension. He prodded at a piece of rubble, but his hand passed right through. Yet he was able to walk on the hard ground. He couldn't process it. I feel like this is kind of like the first indication of like how the like Manton effect and stuff works.
They have talked about it in
So
another way as well when what's her name? When Shadowstalker is moving around, they're like, how is she able
mhm.
to stand on the ground? Like what's the
Yeah,
deal? And
yeah.
I think that they're just on another parallel Earth with a similar surface in terms of what they're interacting
Mhm.
with under their feet, and then the rubble isn't there.
Yeah, the rebel is in there in the alternate universe. So I just thought that was interesting because they'll talk more about that later. Like, how come the ground work but nothing else work?
Yeah, and like I think of a specific like thing. It's gonna come up soon-ish in arc. It's either the very end of arc 18 or at the start of arc 19. But it's like the way that I keep saying dimensions, but they're definitely like alternate realities rather than dimension.
hmm
Because like there are dimensional powers like Chevalier's where he's like
hmm
changing reality through like merging things by making them into the same 3D place by moving them around in a 4D way. But
Uh-huh.
this is more like I guess this is like a fourth dimensional movement where they're like I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll figure it out.
I think I think I follow.
Yeah.
Um Yeah, when like I it was sometimes when people are talking about I think they're just two different like words and like obviously there's overlap, but I think sometimes when you're talking about dimensions, you're talking about like a literal dimension on top of ours that we are unable to perceive. And then sometimes when you're talking about dimensions, you're talking about like an alternate, like you said, an alternate reality, like a bubble dimension or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like kind of the same, but they're kind of different. You definitely different utility.
And Taylor has already thought in this point in the story we're in, like where does the power come from our powers? And like she asks about like how can I possibly be like constantly running my power without eating extra food compared to before? Um,
hmm
and so like energy and matter etc being shunted between like parallel whatevers and different dimensions and whatever is like definitely baked into almost every power if not all of them.
Yeah,
So yeah.
but that's
I
all
would
I had
say
for powers, knowledge, and world building. Did you have anything?
I just want to bring up that when this when I was hearing 17.2 and 3, I did not like clock, like I did not pick up that they were case 53s. I was like, wow, that's a
Yeah, I
crazy
didn't
power of
either.
the Seamergs that she can summon monsters. Like I was
I
just
think it was just
being
like
kind of dumb.
I don't know why. Yeah, I had the exact same experience, but then when I talked to you, you like said the case 53s, and I was like, oh, I'm stupid. But like, I think it's just like the fact that they keep calling them monsters, and then like the fact that they're talking in a different language because like we know that case 53s have different languages, but we have only been hearing them speak in English so far. So it like threw me off a lot. Um,
We know
and
that
then
different
like,
ones know other languages from Earth, though. So it's like probably just a language that either is an offshoot of a real language or is a completely
mhm,
like alternate reality, like um, uh, languages didn't
Yeah,
develop in
this
the
one
same
didn't.
direction, kind of thing.
Yeah, this one didn't look like. I mean, it could have been, but it didn't look like a language I recognized.
The main thing is there are
So
so many languages I don't recognize that it could just easily be a real
yeah,
language.
yeah,
And what I was thinking of is Gregor specifically is like, I don't know how I
Icelandic.
know this, but I know Icelandic.
Yeah, and they could have definitely been speaking Icelandic because I don't know anything about it. Um, yeah, I had that same experience. I was like, and then I felt like really dumb for like not knowing that they were case 53s. Because why would they be? Why they have powers? Why would they be anything else?
But that's why I thought like maybe the people in the story were like in a weird head state of like just
Yeah,
fighting
it
a
could.
thing that's in front of them.
Yeah, and I would think that as well if he hadn't been like if he didn't say cauldron exactly, but he was like, "Oh my gosh, I
Because
want to
he doesn't know
study
the name
this."
called. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't know the name
Yeah.
Cauldron because that like literally will be dropped to him. Oh wait. We've already done that chapter. Didn't we see the chapter where he learns the word cauldron from Dragon?
Yeah, she says, "Let's talk about cauldron," and then like
Yeah,
the chapter ends.
exactly.
Yeah,
Well, she's
but
like, after
he
this fight,
he
ask me about Cauldron.
yeah, so in this current time, he definitely doesn't know about it. Um, yeah, but that's all I had for that. These were such good chapters. I had a great time.
Yeah, yeah. Really good ones. We don't have a bonus. I am going to look into that thing that you sent last week. I forgot to the
Yeah, the game.
ransack stuff. I
Hmm.
do want to talk about ransack, but I don't want to. I want to actually like put the time in to read the document and stuff. Which I forgot to
Hmm.
do.
Okay.
So we'll worry about that next week. But audience participation for 17.3. Would you have left the house as Kraus did to seek resources and medical attention? What would your game plan be? And let's see. Our answer from Vale is I would insist that everyone stay together. There would be no splitting up. I'd try to find a phone, a car, a hospital, maps, food, and water. But whatever we did, we would be together. I'm not sure about that because it's like you can't really transport Noelle around, and like I do think it was maybe a bad idea the way they went out, but like I
Hmm.
think the much more reasonable thing is in 17.6 when they go out for the cars, like they need a car to move Noelle because like they can't keep carrying her around. Like they shouldn't have moved her around with her injuries in the first place, but they were in a building
Hmm.
that was about to get ground up.
Yeah, they probably should have. Now that you say that, Vale, I'm like, I probably would have gone and looked for a vehicle first, rather than what they do, which is just wander around on foot looking for somebody.
Greg and Vale clearly they're both heavy into D&D. You never split the party.
Never split the party.
Um
I agree. I probably would have also split the party though. And and he feels a little bit more confident with the fact that that Jess is with them and like she knows what's going on. So I
and he
mean that's
realizes
helpful.
that she should actually be the leader.
Yeah, that maybe she should be doing like the planning and stuff.
um all right. Well, I guess that's our one response to that. And then 17.4, how would you feel about the heroes in Krause's situation as a non-cape seeing them for the first time? Vale says it would be very disillusioning to see them as such utilitarian, even cold. It makes sense in the situation, but for someone coming in from the outside world, it would be very jarring. I
Hmm.
maybe the way that Kraus is acting is very like weird and utilitarian and cold. It feels like
Literally,
he's on the
Kraus,
same
like,
wavelength as them.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like I would have had such a different reaction to this because, first of all, I would have lost my mind at the like, oh, let's get the medical stuff, and then it like immediately like gets torn away.
Yeah.
Like, I just because, like,
That's what he
being,
was
like,
looking
put in,
for. They
like,
were gonna call in the medvac or
that's what he
whatever.
was
Like that's
looking,
what
yeah,
Arms
they were
Master
gonna call
wants.
in, like, emergency services, like, which is, like, exactly what they need, like, not just any doctor, like, doctors that are meant to be, like, just, like, get keep the person alive, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, in these emergency situations, and so, like, when he, like, doesn't react to either one of those things, like, I would have flipped out, and then after that point, I would have been like, "Fuck these guys." I would have never forgiven Dragon, like, I don't care how perfect and amazing she is, you know what I mean? It's just
I think he
I feel like I
rightfully
would just
doesn't
be
focus
so
on it in the moment because, like,
I know, and it's, like, the only thing that he could cause like, there's no point to freaking out, and it would have made the situation worse.
yeah, it's not the right thing to latch onto in this moment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
I just would, like, be like, "Are you kidding?" Like, I was so close, and then I got fucking thrown into this alternate dimension. And so now I can't even talk to anybody, and I can't tell them that we do need the emergency services because somebody's in a critical state, and they're not going to send them. And like, I don't know, I just be freaking out. And then when he's like, "Oh yeah, the stuff could have a bad reaction to like getting shunted into the pocket dimension," I also would have freaked
oh my
way
god,
more.
yeah. Like it's so funny because like you were worried about both of those, and like my no thoughts head empty. I was just like,
Yeah,
it's
you and
fine.
Kraus were like, "Shrug." I just had such like a different reaction than Kraus to these. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's like on and then on top of that, they he does just like blow up which one? Gueris. Well,
yeah,
she's
yeah.
asking them why they're doing this, which is like a little bit. But like Kraus did the same fucking thing. Like he went in and seemingly tried to kill one of them. So I guess he's just like not in the right mind to care about any of these things right now.
Yeah, that's why, like, from the position of Kraus, or even like me, I probably wouldn't have that bad of a reaction to what they're doing because, like especially as a teen, I was more of like a Kraus Taylor type, like a very
Mhm.
like we've got to get this done. Let's get this done.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
So, um, we didn't get questions ready for 17.5 and 17.6,
Never.
but we will try to do it earlier than we did this time at the
I
last
will.
possible
I will.
second. Uh,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I'm pretty bad about it when I'm running the questions too. So, all right. Well, Vale saying thanks as always. This is so fun.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm gonna have you. That's right, you, Victoria, read out the links or
Uh,
whatever. So,
I don't remember how to do that.
well,
Um,
I'm gonna start up the song. And then you start with talking about Scarlet.
oh,
Oh,
this
damn it! I
this
put
week's
Monarch and
audio.
Migration.
Oh my gosh. Music used in this episode was Migration by ScarlettXOX. Check her out. You can check her out on Twitch as Scarlet_Rogue. That's ROGUE if you like as well. Someday she'll probably stream, so keep an eye out.
She did a
And our
stream to show
Discord
off the
server.
previous song, Monarch, when it was completed.
Oh yeah, I did not get that notification.
Well,
Um,
I remember I told you about it at the time because Monarch, we'd used that for like 3 months or something before we moved over.
yeah. Our Discord server can be found at the link in the description. The author of this work being discussed can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow, and the full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com, and you can also find the fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.com. rein, that's REIN -online.org. So thank you everybody for joining, and thank you, William, for your amazing guesting.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Greg says she needs to do a stream for this song too. Definitely. Greg is also a Scarlett fan and Scarlett friend. So
yeah.
Let me see here. I feel like there was one last thing I wanted to say, but I don't remember. So
you can post it in the Discord if you remember.
Yeah, we'll have to post it on the Discord or whatever. Oh yeah, no, it was a dumb thing. It was that whenever I type Wildbow, my first instinct is to type Wild Boy by accident, and so I do that a lot. And then once I've corrected it to Wildbow, I also generally think about how my favorite fake version of his name is Wildebeest.
Wildebeest is a good one.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. Bye.